Chapter 2085. Lin Tian's expression changed again as he vaguely heard the dragon's roar from underground. The ancestral dragon's vein. He was shocked. The dragon pattern was blocked by a very powerful force, and it was difficult for it to enter the depths of the ground. However, based on the earth-shaking dragon's roar that he vaguely heard and the pure dragon aura that overflowed from the ground, he was sure that the ancestral dragon's vein that the old Taoist mentioned was definitely underground. Hearing his words, Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu were all shocked. Are you saying that the ancestral dragon's vein that the old Taoist mentioned is underground in this place? White Tiger asked. Lin Tian nodded. Yes. This, White Tiger was even more shocked. Buzz! The fire burned. In front of them, in the light red enchantment, the fire essence of the divine phoenix was jumping. As the dragon aura intertwined, it became even more shocking. The fire phoenix condensed from the essence of the divine phoenix also became even more extraordinary. Lin Tianyi looked at Su Shu in the light red enchantment without blinking. His face was full of shock again. It was hard to imagine that Su Shu was the reincarnation of the divine phoenix from the heaven realm. Now that she had returned here, she was beginning her final nirvana. Then, he looked at the pure dragon aura that gushed out from the ground and thought of another thing. Su Shu had chosen this place to undergo nirvana and break through to a higher level. It was probably because she had found out that the ancestral dragon's vein of the heaven realm was here. The benefits of using the dragon aura of the ancestral dragon's vein to undergo nirvana were too great. Perhaps even the origin of life would undergo a shocking qualitative change in the future, and she would be able to reach an astonishing height in the future. After being discovered back then, the end of nirvana did not really succeed. In the end, she left the fruit of the way here and set up a barrier to protect it with the dragon aura. Then, her soul was reincarnated, waiting for the day when the fruit of the way would lead her soul to complete the final nirvana. He muttered to himself, looking at Su Shu, who was surrounded by endless flames at this time. In the final nirvana, he instantly thought of many things. Boom! Suddenly, a shocking wave of saint energy emerged from the distance. It was the 8 people who had been fighting the 7 dead spirits. They were originally fighting against the 7 void heaven-grade dead spirits when they suddenly sensed an astonishing scorching saint energy in this place. The first thing they thought of was the divine phoenix Tao fruit, so they abandoned the 7 dead spirits and rushed here. This is nirvana. That divine phoenix didn't die. That girl is its reincarnation. The 8 of them were all void heaven-grade existences, so their eyesight was naturally not bad. At this time, their gazes fell on Su Shu, who was inside the light red barrier, and they instantly saw through many things, each of them revealing shocked expressions. As for the dragon chi that seeped out from underground, they did not pay much attention to it because they did not know that there was an ancestral dragon vein in this space. They had only come for the divine phoenix Tao fruit, so they did not search for the pure dragon chi to explore the deeper space and did not discover the ancestral dragon vein below. Quickly suppress her and take her away. A reincarnated body, nirvana after nirvana, combined together is at least 10,000 times more valuable than a Tao fruit alone. Extremely bright light flashed in the eyes of the 8 people, and they moved at the same time, all of them grabbing towards the light red barrier, wanting to take away Su Shu along with it. Even Lin Tian, who was standing on the side as a reincarnated body, did not care at all. This was because although Lin Tian's origin was priceless, none of them dared to take it away. Clang! It was also at this time that a sword light with bone-piercing, killing intent swept across the sky, slashing towards the 8 people. Lin Tian made his move, slashing out with his sword with his peak battle strength. He stood in front of Su Shu, who was enveloped by the light red barrier. The 8 void heaven-grade existences' eyes darkened. This sword light was naturally no threat to existences of their level. With a slight movement of their eyes, Lin Tian's sword light shattered and dissipated into nothingness. Reincarnated body, you want to compete with us for the Nirvana Tao fruit of the divine phoenix reincarnation? One of them said coldly, "We gave your master face and didn't touch you. However, if you take the initiative to attack us, it will be a different situation. At that time, even if we kill you, your master won't have anything to say." As he spoke, holy light intertwined around the 8 people's bodies, and void heaven-grade auras fluctuated, causing the surrounding void to collapse. This kind of pressure was somewhat terrifying, causing Lin Tianyi and the others to feel intense pain. However, the group did not show any fear, only vigilance and worry. Their expressions were not very good. "She's my wife, so she's also my master's disciple. If you want to make a move, you'd better think about the consequences first," Lin Tian said coldly. When he walked in the cultivation world, he generally did not use the name of others to threaten others. That was not his style of doing things, but now he did so because he had to protect Sushu. There could not be the slightest mistake. Whether Sushu was the divine phoenix reincarnation or some other ancient existence, it was not important. It was all in the past. He only remembered one thing clearly, and that was that Sushu was now his wife. Even if he died, he could not let anything happen to Sushu. At the same time, he secretly circulated the dragon burial scripture to the extreme again. He used all his strength to make the dragon marks surge toward the depths of the ground. Although he couldn't reach the ancestral dragon vein, he could still channel out a lot of pure dragon chi. That's right, the divine phoenix reincarnation is Lin Tian's wife in this life, which is equivalent to being Lin Tian's master's disciple. "You old fools better behave yourselves." White Tiger also spoke and threatened. Lin Tian's master can easily destroy the void world. Even the celestial masters of the celestial court do not dare to provoke him. "You'd better not make a move. This is my family's Lil, mother's younger sister. You old fools better stay away. If you make a move, mother will be very unhappy, and the consequences will be very serious." Ruoxian warned the 8 people warily. "Yeah." Little Taichu glared at the 8 people with a vigilant expression. The 8 Void Heaven rank experts' expressions changed slightly upon hearing this. They did not pay attention to little Taichu's voice, nor did they pay attention to Ruoxian's words. They had no idea who the mother that Ruoxian mentioned was. They were only moved by Lin Tian's words because they were really afraid of an old drunkard. However, in the next moment, the 8 people looked at each other, and their expressions became cold again. "You think she's your wife just because you say so? You want to fight with us for the divine phoenix's nirvana Dao fruit, so you made up such a story? We only know that she is the reincarnation of the divine phoenix. It has nothing to do with you. Your master only said that the older generation cannot take the initiative to find trouble with you. We respect your master and will not touch you out of respect for that existence. As for what we do, that is our freedom." Chapter 2086. The 8 Void Sky Grade powerhouses attacked together. Their Void Sky Grade auras surged, and their 8 giant hands almost covered the sky. "Damn it!" The White Tiger's expression changed. These 8 people really dared to attack. "You!" Ruoxian was furious. Her body trembled slightly, not because she was afraid, but because the Void Sky Grade powerhouses were too strong. As the 8 Void Sky Grade powerhouses attacked together, the Void Sky Grade auras pressed down on her, causing her body to tremble instinctively. "We can't touch you, but we won't let you win when it comes to fighting for the Divine Phoenix Dao Fruit. Don't even think about competing with us." The 8 Void Sky Grade powerhouses looked at Lin Tian coldly. The Void Sky Grade palm pressed down, grabbing at the Divine Phoenix barrier enveloping Sushu. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of her. "I don't need you to let me win. All of you will die here." It was also at this moment that Lin Tian spoke, his voice cold. As soon as his words fell, the ground shook. A dragon's roar suddenly reverberated from underground, shaking the sky. Immediately, a majestic and pure dragon, Chi, soared into the sky. Half of it turned into a giant dragon that crashed into the 8 Void Sky Grade powerhouses' giant hands, while the other half entered his body. Just now, He had been using the dragon burial scripture to communicate with the ancestral dragon vein underground. Although the dragon marks couldn't get close to the ancestral dragon vein, they could draw out pure dragon chi from within. Now that he succeeded, the pure dragon chi directly gushed out. Roar! The giant dragon formed by the pure dragon chi had a terrifying aura, directly shaking off the 8 void sky grade powerhouse's giant hands. At the same time, the other half of the dragon chi entered his body, causing his aura to soar crazily. His whole person was like an erupting volcano. In the blink of an eye, his essence, chi, and spirit reached an astonishing height, crushing the void. This is Ruoxian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu's expressions changed at the same time. The white tiger's eyes widened in shock. Such a vast amount of dragon energy, kid, could it be? Just now, it already knew that the heaven realm ancestral dragon vein that the old Taoist was looking for existed underground. At this time, when it saw such a shocking dragon energy rush out, and Lin Tian's essence, energy, and spirit skyrocketing, it immediately thought, Lin Tianyi must have used the dragon burial scripture to successfully activate the power of the ancestral dragon vein underground. At this time, it felt that Lin Tian's aura was comparable to that of a normal dominator. Is this the power of the heaven realm ancestral dragon veins? It was shocking. Yeah. Little Taichu glared at him. Ruoxian was also surprised. So powerful. She cultivated the ancient scriptures passed down by Wu Yi, and at the same time, she also cultivated all the techniques of the 9 heavenly sovereigns passed down by Lin Tian. She also knew the dragon burial scripture. However, when she found out that there was an ancestral dragon vein underground, she tried to mobilize the power of the ancestral dragon vein underground, but it was completely useless. She couldn't communicate with the ancestral dragon vein. However, Lin Tian did it at this time. On the opposite side, the 8 void sky experts were also shocked. Seeing the dragon energy that Lin Tian mobilized at this time, their pupils shrank. This level of dragon energy, could it be? The dragon energy that Lin Tian mobilized at this time was much more majestic than the dragon energy that flowed into the divine phoenix barrier. They couldn't be compared, causing the 8 void sky experts to pay attention to this at this time. They swept their gazes underground. They scanned the deepest part of this place with their void sky divine senses. Just like Lin Tian, their divine senses couldn't really enter the deepest part of the ground and couldn't touch the ancestral dragon vein. However, they also had the same feeling as Lin Tianyi. Ancestral dragon vein? The heaven realm's ancestral dragon vein is here? The 8 of them were shocked. Realizing this, the 8 of them suddenly showed excitement on their faces. They couldn't help but tremble slightly. The ancestral dragon vein was too tempting. With our strength, we absolutely can't break into the ancestral dragon vein. We can't touch it, one of them said. His gaze fell on Sushu, who was in the divine phoenix barrier again. His eyes were full of burning light. Seize her immediately and refine her power. Then we will definitely be able to break into the ancestral dragon vein. At that time, the benefits will be endless. Attack, another person said. Immediately, the 8 experts attacked again. At the same time, they stretched out their big hands and grabbed towards Sushu. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. With the ancestral dragon veins dragon chi, his strength was comparable to that of a sovereign realm expert. He activated more dragon chi and condensed it into a huge dragon that charged towards the 8 experts. With your cultivation, you can actually mobilize the power of the ancestral dragon vein. Did you cultivate some kind of special technique that allows you to borrow the power of heaven and earth for your own use? It's not ordinary. You have some skills, one of them said coldly. Unfortunately, even if you can mobilize the power of the ancestral dragon vein, your cultivation is too weak. With the pure dragon chi of the ancestral dragon vein to strengthen your body, you can only reach the level of an ordinary sovereign realm expert at most. In the end, you still don't have the ability to fight against us. As his words fell, this person raised his hand and directly smashed the huge dragon formed by Lin Tian's dragon chi into pieces with a slap. After that, The 8 of them continued to attack Su Shu without any change in their attacks. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. Facing the 8 people's attacks, his expression didn't change, but the coldness in his eyes became stronger. Kong! An ear-piercing sword hum sounded from his body as a 7-colored divine radiance surged and spread out. In his knowledge sea, the 7-colored divine sword rushed out, releasing an extremely sharp sword intent that was incomparably terrifying. Crackling sounds immediately rang out as the 8 people's attacks were shattered, and then they were all forced to retreat. At this moment, seeing the 7-colored divine sword summoned by Lin Tian, the 8 Void Sky experts' expressions changed again. At the same time, Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu were also shocked. That divine sword, this brat summoned it again. White Tiger was pleasantly surprised. The 7-colored divine sword circled around Lin Tian, its 7-colored divine radiance intertwining as if it could split open heaven and earth. Lin Tian raised his hand and grabbed the 7-colored divine sword. The 7-colored radiance on the 7-colored divine sword enveloped him in the blink of an eye. Just now, when he was communicating with the ancestral dragon vein, he was also communicating with the 7-colored divine sword in his knowledge sea. This was because he knew very well that the ancestral dragon vein's dragon chi alone couldn't fight against Void Sky experts with his Saint King cultivation. He needed an ultimate divine weapon, and the 7-colored divine sword in his knowledge sea was definitely a super divine weapon. This time, the 7-colored divine sword seemed to have a spirit as well. It knew what kind of situation it was in. After he communicated with it with his divine will for a dozen breaths, the 7-colored divine sword reacted and was summoned from his sea of consciousness. His gaze fell on the 8 people. The hand holding the 7-colored divine sword shook, and he directly slashed at the 7 of them. Kong! With the support of the ancestral dragon vein's dragon chi, his current strength was comparable to a sovereign realm expert. Then, he activated the 7-colored divine sword with a strength comparable to a sovereign realm expert. For a moment, the sword hum shook the sky as the sharp sword intent pressed straight towards the 8 sovereigns. In the blink of an eye, the 7-colored divine sword intent pressed down on the 8 people, directly exposing their bodies. For a moment, there was a muffled groan as the 8 people were swept away at the same time. Chapter 2087. Void Heaven grade blood splattered all over the void, creating a dazzling sight. The 8 Void Heaven grade powerhouses were sent flying several hundred meters away. Their bodies were covered in sword scars, but they barely managed to stabilize themselves. At this moment, all of them paled. As powerful as they were Void Heaven grade powerhouses, they were actually sent flying by Lin Tian's sword at the same time, and were all injured. At the same time, they were also shocked when they saw the Rainbow Divine Sword in Lin Tian's hand. They could feel an extremely sharp sword intent from this divine sword. That sword intent made them tremble. It was too strong. A piercing heaven-grade divine weapon? This sword is so strong. The 8 Void Heaven-grade powerhouses' pupils shrank. The Rainbow Divine Sword had already been exposed. Someone had seen Lin Tian use it and spread the news. These 8 Void Heaven-grade powerhouses naturally knew about it. However, at that time, Lin Tianji was using it with a Saint-grade cultivation base, so the power displayed was at most comparable to a sovereign-grade weapon. But now, Lin Tian was using it with a sovereign-grade cultivation base, so the sword intent it emitted was naturally much stronger than when he was using it with a Saint-grade cultivation base. This shocked the 8 Void Heaven-grade powerhouses. Lin Tian's cold gaze fell on the 8 Void Heaven-grade powerhouses. In the next moment, he moved and slashed at the 8 Void Heaven-grade powerhouses again. Clang! Accompanied by an ear-piercing sword whistle, a rainbow-colored sword light swept across the sky, almost shattering the sky. The 8 Void Heaven-grade powerhouses' expressions changed. They quickly used their secret techniques to block the rainbow-colored sword light. Immediately, there was a loud rumble. The 8 of them were, after all, Void Heaven Realm cultivators. They acted together and blocked the sharp sword. However, at this moment, Lin Tian moved, His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the 8 void heaven-grade powerhouses. He raised his hand and slashed again. He used even more strength with this strike, and the power of the strike was even more shocking. Moreover, he only swung it at a single person, forcefully destroying the defensive screen of light that person had erected. The light directly pierced through the person's chest, causing a large amount of blood to spurt out. After that, with a PU sound, the opponent's body exploded into pieces, leaving behind only his soul that fled in a sorry state with an ashen expression. Lin Tian looked at this person's divine soul and waved the rainbow divine sword, sweeping out a sky full of sword lights towards the other 7 people, interfering with their movements. Then, with the rainbow divine sword in hand, he stepped towards this person's divine soul, instantly arriving in front of him. With a boom, the 7-colored divine sword in his hand erupted with an even more terrifying sword momentum, as if it was going to pierce through the entire world. This kind of sword aura caused the expression of the Void Sky expert, whose body had been cut into pieces and only his divine soul to change. His eyes even revealed a terrified expression because this sword was truly too terrifying. It was as if a world-destroying, vicious beast was trying to devour him. "Stop! Stop!" The man couldn't help but cry out. Lin Tian's expression was as cold as ice. He slashed down with his sword. "I already warned you all not to have any ideas about her." With a clang, as his sword slashed down, the 7-colored divine sword's divine power surged, sealing, freezing, and destroying all directions. It directly landed on the Void Sky expert's divine soul and destroyed it with a swish. For a moment, this place fell into a deathly silence. How could this be? The other 7 Void Sky experts' expressions changed drastically after they shattered the 7-colored divine sword Lin Tian's attack. One of them, a Void Sky expert, was actually killed by Lin Tian in an instant. At the same time, Ruoxian, the White Tiger, and the little Taichu were also shocked. So strong. Daddy's sword is really strong. Ruoxian clenched her fists. Even an ordinary heaven-piercing divine weapon wouldn't have such power, right? This sword, it's really... The White Tiger's eyes widened. Even though he already knew that the divine sword in Lin Tian's Sea of Consciousness was very powerful and terrifying, and had seen Lin Tian use this divine sword several times, he still couldn't help but be shocked when he saw Lin Tian kill a Void Sky expert with a 7-colored divine sword. Buzz! In this place, inside the Divine Phoenix barrier, the Divine Phoenix fire essence was boiling. The Divine Phoenix fire essence condensed into a fire phoenix and rushed into Sushu's body, causing Sushu's essence, chi, and spirit to continuously rise. At this time, Sushu's cultivation base had already reached the Saint Realm from the previous peak of the Quasi-Saint Realm. Moreover, it was still rising. Lin Tian held the 7-colored divine sword and glanced at the Divine Phoenix barrier. Then, he tilted his head and looked at the other 7 Void Sky experts. Clang! He shook the 7-colored divine sword in his hand, and a sword cry that shook the heavens rang out. The sword slashed towards the 7 people at the same time. The void in all directions was instantly shattered, and this kind of power was completely the result of him displaying it in his strongest state. Even the reincarnation forging spirit art had long been activated, just like when he killed the void heaven-grade powerhouse. This was because although he had raised his strength with the power of the ancestral dragon bloodline, circulated the reincarnation forging spiritual technique, and had the help of the 7-colored divine sword, and his overall strength was very strong, it was still impossible for him to easily kill Void Sky experts. Sushu was now in the final nirvana, so he couldn't drag the battle with these people for too long. He had to end it quickly because the fluctuations caused by the battle might have a negative impact on Sushu's final nirvana. After all, Sushu's final nirvana was almost the same as a cultivator's closed-door cultivation. It was best to do it in a quiet environment. Therefore, under such circumstances, he used his full strength every time he made a move. He attacked with his current strongest battle strength. Damn it, let's attack together. With the combined strength of the 7 of us. Even if he temporarily raised his strength and has that divine sword, He won't be a match for us. Someone among the seven spoke. Immediately, the seven of them moved, and an even more terrifying void sky pressure interweaved around their bodies. You attacked us first. Even if we kill you, you asked for it. You can't blame anyone, one of them said coldly, his eyes revealing a sinister and greedy light. Obviously, he was thinking about Lin Tian's source. Lin Tian's source was even more valuable than the ancestral dragon bloodline in the Heaven Realm. In other words, the two were completely incomparable. Lin Tian naturally noticed this person's gaze and knew what this person was thinking at this time. His gaze was cold as he tightened his grip on the seven-colored divine sword and fiercely swung it at this person. Clang! A powerful and terrifying sword strike pierced through the boundless great void, shattering the Saint Shi light screen around this person's body and piercing through his head. Just like the previous void heaven rank master, only his divine sense managed to escape in a sorry state. Damn it! This person was horrified. His soul shone as he retreated, quickly reforming his body. However, at this moment, Lin Tian stepped forward and instantly arrived in front of him. Die! Chapter 2088. The sword light was swift and fierce, and the seven-colored divine radiance surged. In the blink of an eye, it landed on the soul of the void sky powerhouse whose physical body had been shattered. No! With a cry of despair and unwillingness, the void sky expert's soul shattered. He couldn't withstand Lin Tian's seven-colored divine sword at all. Under the attack of the seven-colored divine sword, the void sky expert's soul shattered and disappeared from this world forever. In an instant, only 6 of the 8 void sky experts were left. Truly terrifying. The white tiger's eyes widened. In the blink of an eye, 2 of the 8 void heaven rank experts had been killed. With the 8 void heaven grade masters united, the remaining 6 expressions changed again. Damn it, that sword. The 6 of them gritted their teeth and clenched their fists. At this moment, their gazes landed on the seven-colored divine sword in Lin Tian's hand. They were very clear that the reason Lin Tian was able to kill 2 of them consecutively was mainly because of this divine sword. Clang! The sound of swords clanging resounded through the sky. Lin Tian moved again. He swung the seven-colored divine sword at the high heaven sword scripture. Instantly, the sky was filled with sword lights. The 6 void sky experts glanced at Sushu, who was enveloped by the divine phoenix barrier. Divine phoenix flames danced, and saint energy surged. Their eyes were filled with greed. I don't believe he can stop all of us. Let's attack together and suppress him. You're the one who took the initiative to attack us. We didn't take the initiative to attack you. Kill. The 6 void sky experts opened their mouths and charged towards Lin Tian. 6 void sky experts, saint energy surged and surged. The 6 void sky experts each activated their void sky divine abilities. At the same time, artifacts emerged from their bodies. All of them were peak sovereign grade artifacts. The aura they exuded was terrifying. Lin Tian felt the pressure. The aura the 6 void sky experts exuded now was clearly much stronger than before. However, although he felt the pressure, he wasn't afraid. He activated his Tai Chi divine domain to protect his body. The seven-colored divine sword vibrated as it was still powered by the high heaven sword scripture. It slashed out an even sharper sword light as if it wanted to split the sky. Crack! This sword force was too sharp. In the blink of an eye, the sovereign-grade artifact summoned by one of the 6 void heaven realm masters was shattered into pieces. At the same time, the sword radiance of the 7-colored sword might swept across the area and formed a sword domain. Ka-ka-ka-ka-ka. A series of crisp sounds rang out as the artifacts of the other 5 void heaven experts also shattered at the same time. Damn it! The 6 of them were shocked and angered. They were void heaven grade masters, but they did not have a void heaven grade artifact because it was too difficult to forge. A sovereign grade artifact was their most powerful weapon, and they had refined it with a special method. It resonated with their source of power and increased their battle prowess by 20%. But now, it had been destroyed by Lin Tian. The six Void Heaven Realm Masters roared as their six great divine abilities surged. Their auras became even stronger as they pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian activated his Tai Chi Divine Domain to protect his body. He was temporarily using the ancestral dragon veins Dragon Chi to raise his sovereign grade cultivation and the seven-color divine sword's power to support himself. However, he was still sent flying, and cracks appeared on his Tai Chi Divine Domain. He stabilized himself and moved again without holding back. His speed was pushed to the limit as he waved the seven-colored divine sword and slashed out another seven-colored sword radiance. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. Every seven-colored sword radiance was extremely terrifying, forcing the six Void Heaven experts to resist with all their might. It was also at this time that Lin Tian continued to move forward. He pushed his speed to the limit, leaving behind numerous afterimages in the space. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of one of the six Void Heaven experts. He held the seven-colored divine sword tightly with both hands and slashed down fiercely. This time, he waved the sword with both hands. It was stronger than any of the previous attacks, as if it was going to split the sky. Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere. Under this sword, the Void Heaven expert didn't even have time to scream before he was cut into pieces. Moreover, his divine soul was also destroyed. Another one. Daddy is so powerful. Yeah! The White Tiger, Ruo Xian, and Little Taichu were guarding beside the Divine Phoenix barrier. They couldn't help but feel excited when they saw this scene. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian had killed three Void Heaven experts. One had to know that in terms of foundation, Lin Tian was only a fifth heavenly layer Saint King. However, by relying on his various methods, he had reached the level of killing Void Heaven experts. This was too shocking, enough to shock countless cultivators. The remaining five Void Heaven experts trembled slightly. Their expressions became even more unsightly, and there was even a hint of fear in their eyes. In such a short time, Lin Tian had actually killed three of them. On the opposite side, Lin Tian held the seven-colored divine sword. His right hand trembled slightly, and the sword hummed loudly. He directly stepped toward the five of them. However, just as he took a step forward, his body trembled slightly, and he involuntarily stopped. His face instantly became paler. Seeing this, the five Void Heaven experts on the opposite side all narrowed their eyes. Then, a cold light flashed in their eyes. Wantonly using Saint Power must consume a lot of his body, right? He won't be able to last long if he fights like this. Let's go together and suppress him. Then, we'll take the Divine Phoenix Dao Fruit and break into the ancestral dragon vein. We'll be able to step into the ascending heaven realm in an extremely short period of time. The Divine Phoenix aura in this place has already leaked out. Later, there will definitely be others coming. Let's end this quickly. Kill! The five opened their mouths. Their eyes were cold as they took the initiative to attack Lin Tian. Lin Tian's face became a little pale. He constantly used all the saint power in his body to kill the three Void Heaven experts at the fastest speed. On the surface, it was very frightening, but it was indeed exhausting. He had already consumed a lot of saint power, and his current state was slightly worse than before. However, his expression didn't change much. He was still indifferent as he faced the five Void Heaven experts with his sword. Clang! The humming of the sword shook the sky. In the blink of an eye, he collided with the five Void Heaven experts. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the void shattered bit by bit. Even the dome of heaven seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. Lin Tian used the Tai Chi Divine Domain to protect his body, and used the seven-color Divine Sword to display the High Heaven Sword Manual. Every attack contained his current full strength, and every attack was fierce and oppressive. Fierce arcs of lightning interweaved around his body. The five Void Heaven experts also attacked with all their strength. All kinds of divine abilities and secret techniques were used, as if they wanted to bury everything. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths had passed. After dozens of breaths, Lin Tian seized a gap and used the Tai Chi Divine Domain to protect his body. He endured the attacks of 4 Void Heaven experts with his back and directly stabbed the 7-colored divine sword into the chest of another Void Heaven expert. The Void Heaven expert's body trembled violently, and a large amount of blood gushed out of his mouth. He was frightened and angry. "You die." Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He shook the 7-colored divine sword in his hand, and a fierce sword force erupted from the Void Heaven expert's body. The Void Heaven expert's body directly exploded, and even his soul was destroyed. After killing this person, Lin Tian's face was even paler than before. His gaze fell on the last 4 Void Heaven experts. Clang! He held the 7-colored divine sword and hummed again. His condition was worse than before, but he didn't care at all. He still used all his saint power to suppress the 4 Void Heaven experts. Chapter 2089. More than a dozen Void Heaven rank auras rushed over from the distance at an extremely fast speed, arriving in front of them in the blink of an eye. There were a total of 17 figures, each of them exuding Void Heaven rank auras that distorted the space around them. For a moment, the Ruoxian, the White Tiger, and the Little Taichu's expressions all changed. Damn it! The White Tiger was enraged. In the blink of an eye, another 17 Void Heaven rank experts had arrived. Even if Lin Tian raised his strength with the ancestral dragon veins dragon chi and summoned the Rainbow Divine Sword, he might not be able to stop them. The 4 Void Heaven rank experts who were still alive when they arrived also changed their expressions becoming unsightly. Now, the other 17 Void Heaven rank experts had arrived and would directly become their competitors for the Divine Phoenix Tao Fruit. Lin Tian stopped attacking the 4 Void Heaven rank experts, his expression also becoming unsightly. He naturally knew why these people had come. The 17 Void Heaven rank experts weren't friends. They were all vigilant and on guard against others. At the same time, their gazes fell on Su Shu, who was undergoing nirvana inside the Divine Phoenix barrier. Everyone's expressions changed slightly. This is that woman. The Divine Phoenix flame essence is flowing into her body on its own. Is she the reincarnation of the Divine Phoenix from back then? That Divine Phoenix from back then didn't die. Her nirvana didn't truly succeed. She left the Tao fruit here, and her divine soul reincarnated. Now, she's using her reincarnated body to merge with the Tao fruit she left behind back then to undergo the final nirvana. These people were all experts. Just like the 8 Void Heaven rank experts at the beginning, they could see many things at a glance. Then, for a moment, everyone's eyes shone brightly as they became somewhat excited. It's at least 10,000 times stronger than the Divine Phoenix Tao fruit alone. Someone couldn't help but clench his fists. Then, in the next moment, everyone moved at the same time, as if they had discovered the most beautiful prey. They all rushed towards Su Shu inside the Divine Phoenix barrier, wanting to snatch her away. Scram! Lin Tian's cold voice rang out, accompanied by a sword cry that shook the heavens. He took a step forward and appeared beside the Divine Phoenix barrier. The Rainbow Divine Sword in his hand trembled and swept across the 17 Void Sky experts that were charging towards him. The tyrannical sword strike was accompanied by a terrifying sword whistle. The 17 Void Sky experts were shaken and retreated at the same time. Reincarnation body, what do you mean? One of them said in a deep voice. Just like the other 16 people, they had discovered Lin Tian, a reincarnated being, when they had rushed here. However, none of them dared to make a move against Lin Tian because they were afraid of an old drunkard. Even though they desired the origin of reincarnation, none of them dared to touch Lin Tian. At the same time, these 17 people were also shocked by the aura Lin Tian was exuding. It was so strong that even Void Heaven experts like them felt pressured. If you dare to touch her, I'll take your lives. Lin Tian's voice was ice cold. As soon as he finished speaking, he shook the Rainbow Divine Sword in his hand. A monstrous sword might erupted, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to tremble. This aura was very strong, even stronger than before. The 17 people's expressions changed again. They clearly felt that Lin Tion's cultivation was only at the Saint Ruler realm, but his aura was comparable to that of a sovereign realm expert. Moreover, the rainbow divine sword in his hand seemed to be able to cut through everything. They couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. However, in the next moment, their expressions sank again. Although I don't know what method you use to forcibly increase your strength, what right do you have to stop us from obtaining the divine phoenix Tao fruit? One of them said coldly. Lin Tion's eyes were cold. He didn't give any explanation and pointed the rainbow divine sword at everyone. I'll kill whoever touches her. The 17 people's expressions sank again. The divine phoenix Tao fruit is mine. If you take the initiative to attack us again, we can also kill you in return. We won't disrespect that person. One of them said coldly. Then this person directly moved. Light intertwined in his eyes, and holy light spread out as he grabbed towards Sushu. At the same time, the other 16 people, as well as the 4 Void Sky rank experts who had arrived earlier, also moved. While guarding against the others, they also grabbed towards Sushu, who was enveloped by the divine phoenix barrier. Saint energy swept out in all directions. Lin Tion's expression was cold. He waved his left hand, mixed with gentle holy energy, and moved Ruoxian and the others 1,000 zhang away. Next, the battle in this place would become more intense than before. Sushu was in the final nirvana, so he couldn't move her now. However, he had to move Ruoxian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu away from this area. Otherwise, they would be in great danger. Clang! After moving Ruoxian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu away, he fiercely swung the rainbow divine sword. Sharp sword light swept out in all directions. The dense rainbow-colored sword lights indiscriminately slashed at the 21 void, heaven-rank powerhouses charging at him. You took the initiative to attack. Even if we kill you, your master can't blame us. One of the 21 Void Sky experts said coldly. The other 20 people also looked at Lin Tian with cold eyes, greed faintly intertwined in their eyes. Immediately, the 21 people attacked at the same time, all of them attacking Lin Tian. If they wanted to obtain the divine phoenix Tao fruit, they had to deal with Lin Tian first. Facing the 21 people's attacks, Lin Tian's eyes were cold, and there was no fear on his face. He protected himself with the Tai Chi divine domain and the rainbow divine sword, sweeping out one sharp sword light after another. Daddy! 1,000 zhang away, Ruoxian looked worried. These old things. The white tiger was also angry. It hadn't been long, but more than 20 Void Sky experts had come to this place. The little Taichu clenched his paws, also very angry. However, although they were worried and angry at this time, they were powerless and couldn't do anything to help. Boom! 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 Astonishing saint energy rumbled as various divine abilities and secret techniques swept through this space. Lin Tian swung the rainbow divine sword to protect Sushu as he fought the 21 Void Sky experts alone. The rainbow sword light swept out in all directions. Under this sword light and the saint energy of the other 21 Void Sky experts, the void constantly collapsed. In the blink of an eye, a full 4 hours passed. In these 4 hours, Lin Tian fought the 21 Void Sky experts alone. Even though the ancestral dragon bloodline's dragon chi temporarily increased his strength to the level of a sovereign, even though the reincarnation forging spirit art increased his battle prowess tenfold, and with the help of the rainbow divine sword, it was extremely difficult for him to face the 21 Void Sky experts together. His face grew paler and paler. However, even so, the 21 Void Sky experts were forced into a sorry state by him. This made the 21 Void Sky experts feel shocked. Lin Tianyi was just a young man of this generation, but facing the siege of 21 ancient Void Sky experts, he was still able to stand his ground, forcing the 21 Void Sky experts into a sorry state. Then, in the next moment, the 21 Void Sky experts' expressions became cold again. In their field of vision, Lin Tian's cheeks were already very pale. You can't hold on anymore. You took the initiative to attack us. Even if we kill you and take your source origin, your master won't be able to say anything. You asked for it, these Void Sky experts said. Their eyes were filled with greed as they vigilantly looked at each other. Then, they all rushed towards Lin Tian like hungry beasts, wanting to devour Lin Tian. 21 Void Sky Experts' Saint energy surged, causing the surrounding void to crumble and collapse. Lin Tian faced the 21 Void Sky Experts again. His body couldn't help but tremble under the impact of the 21 Void Sky Experts' Saint energy. He instantly felt a great threat, but his expression remained unchanged. He tightened his grip on the Rainbow Divine Sword. "Don't even think about touching her," he said coldly. He shook the Rainbow Divine Sword, and a dazzling sword light burst out again. At the same time, almost at the same time, the sound of a flute drifted between heaven and earth, as if it came from an eternal, unknown place. It was like the sound of thousands of Saint energy, causing his body to tremble slightly. Chapter 2090. What's going on? His aura. Why did it suddenly? The 21 Void Sky Experts were sent flying by Lin Tian. They quickly stabilized themselves, and their expressions changed drastically. At this moment, in their vision and perception, Lin Tian seemed to have changed into a different person. The aura he exuded made them shudder. The melodious flute music drifted in this small world. It was soft and gentle, like a gentle breeze drifting from the eternal unknown. Outside Lin Tian's body, dazzling holy light shone. Inside his body, only he could see that his life origin was blooming with the most dazzling light. His body was almost burning, and every corner of his body was filled with majestic power at this moment. Wu-Yi! His eyes flickered. This was the Reincarnation Tribulation Transcendence song, which Wu-Yi had spent 1,000 years to create. Only Wu-Yi and he could play it. Together with the Reincarnation Forging Spirit Art, at this moment, his strength, which had been boosted by the ancestral dragon bloodline's dragon chi, had increased by 100 times. He glanced around. Wu-Yi's figure did not appear, but he knew that Wu-Yi was coming here. He had sensed the situation here, but he could not immediately arrive and transmit the Reincarnation Tribulation Transcendence song to this place in advance. At the same time, 1,000 zhang away, the Ruoxian, who had been sent to a safe place by Lin Tian, was also moved and became pleasantly surprised. "This is Mother's flute music. Mother is here." She had heard the Reincarnation Tribulation Transcendence song before, so she naturally knew who was playing it at this time. "He is here?" Little Taichu was also pleasantly surprised. "This flute music is from your mother?" The white tiger's eyes widened. "That's right." Ruoxian clenched her hands, both happy and excited. "This is the Reincarnation Tribulation Transcendence song that Mother created back then. Only Mother and Father can play it. Now that Father is fighting, only Mother can play the flute." Hearing this, the white tiger's eyes widened even more. "This flute sound is the Reincarnation Tribulation Crossing song?" It couldn't hear anything special about this kind of flute music. It just felt that it was very pleasant to the ears. However, when it heard Ruoxian mention the Reincarnation Tribulation Crossing song, it was moved because Lin Tian had mentioned the Reincarnation Forging Divine Art and the Reincarnation Tribulation Crossing song to it. No wonder Brat Lin's aura suddenly skyrocketed. It's actually the Reincarnation Tribulation Crossing song. It was shocked and then bewildered. It looked around, but didn't see Wu-Yi. "Where's your mother's family? How come I don't see anyone?" He should be in the World Tunnel and is currently rushing here. However, he is unable to reach here immediately. He can only send the Samsara Tribulation Transcension song ahead of time. Ruoxian guessed. The melodious sound of the flute lingered in the ears. It was gentle and pleasant to listen to, as if a myriad of fairies were playing, accompanied by a gentle breeze that danced. Outside Lin Tian's body, a dazzling holy radiance burned like a burning flame. His pale face gradually turned rosy. He looked around, then looked at Sushu, who was undergoing nirvana inside the Divine Phoenix Barrier. Finally, his gaze moved to the 21 Void Heaven rank experts. His eyes were cold and indifferent. Then, he moved, holding the Rainbow Divine Sword. He casually slashed forward. With a loud clang, a sword hum pierced through the air. A rainbow-colored sword light rushed out at an extremely fast speed and arrived in front of one of the 21 Void Heaven rank experts in the blink of an eye. Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere. The Void Heaven rank expert was pierced through. Then his body disintegrated and his divine soul turned to ashes. He didn't even have time to scream. This! The other 20 Void Heaven rank experts trembled, and their expressions changed drastically. Just now, they had all sensed that Lin Tian's aura had undergone a tremendous change, as if he had become a different person. However, they never imagined that he would become so terrifying. Just a casual swing of his sword was enough to kill one of their Void Heaven rank experts. Clang! A sword hum rang out again. Lin Tian held the rainbow divine sword and swung it again. Another rainbow-colored sword light flew out. Just like before, it was so fast that no one could react in time. It directly pierced through another Void Heaven rank expert, causing Void Heaven rank blood to splatter everywhere. Just like the Void Heaven rank expert just now, this Void Heaven rank expert's divine soul was also instantly destroyed. So strong. This is the 100-fold battle prowess that Kid mentioned before. This is simply... In the distance, the white tiger's hair stood on end. A Void Heaven rank expert's life was taken away with a casual swing of his sword. This kind of battle prowess was truly terrifying. Yeah, so strong. The little Taichu was also shocked. Those two techniques are only useful for Daddy and Mommy. However, only Daddy can achieve 100-fold battle prowess when the two techniques are combined. Mommy can't. Ruashian's eyes lit up as she looked ahead excitedly. She naturally knew about the Reincarnation Section Divine Technique and Reincarnation Tribulation Crossing Song. In front of them, there were still 19 Void Heaven rank experts alive on the battlefield. At this moment, all of them couldn't help but tremble. Go retreat. One of them spoke with a trembling voice. Then, he directly retreated and fled into the distance. Then, the other 18 people didn't hesitate and moved as well, fleeing into the distance. At this moment, the dozen or so people who were still alive were frightened by Lin Tian's battle prowess. A casual swing of his sword could kill a Void Heaven rank expert, causing their divine souls to shiver. If they continued to stay, they would definitely end up dead. For a time, whooshing sounds could be heard as the group moved extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they were already far away. Escaping? What are you running for? Come again if you have the guts. The white tiger couldn't help but curse when he saw this scene from afar. Don't run. Come back and fight one-on-one. Ruashin shouted. Lin Tian didn't say anything as he watched the 19 Void Heaven rank experts flee. He directly moved and chased after them. Since these people had attacked, he naturally wouldn't let them go. At this moment, under the amplification of his 100-fold battle prowess, his speed also increased tremendously. In an instant, he was already far away. Clank! He appeared in front of one of the 19 people and slashed down with his divine sword. With a puff, blood splattered everywhere. This person was immediately killed in body and soul. Then, he stepped forward and slashed at the other 18 people with the 7-colored divine sword. The sharp sword aura seemed to be able to shatter heaven and earth. Reincarnation bodies, stop. We have already retreated. Don't be too heartless. Someone anxiously shouted. Lin Tian turned a deaf ear to them. He swung the 7-colored divine sword in his hand, directly shattering this person's head and destroying his divine soul. Then he stepped forward with the Tai Chi divine domain protecting his body. He left behind afterimages as he slashed out streaks of 7-colored divine sword. Ah! A blood-curdling scream filled the air as another Void Heaven rank expert was killed. He didn't even have the slightest ability to resist. Of the dozens of Void Heaven rank experts, only 17 were left in the blink of an eye. None of you will live. Chapter 2091. Resplendent light intertwined as the Reincarnation Forging Soul Technique and Reincarnation Calamity Crossing Song appeared at the same time. With a 100-fold increase in battle prowess, Lin Tian sealed off the surrounding space with the Rainbow Divine Sword. He was like a true sword god, and even the sky violently trembled. Clang! He raised his hand and mercilessly swung the seven-colored divine sword at the last 17 void sky experts. The seven-colored divine sword trembled slightly as a seven-colored sword ray slashed towards one of the 17 void sky experts. This void sky expert was horrified. He quickly raised a powerful divine technique defense, but it was instantly shattered by the sword ray. Then, the seven-colored sword ray continued to press down and directly pierced through his chest. Ah! Blood splattered in the void along with a scream. This void sky expert exploded, and even his divine soul was destroyed. In the blink of an eye, there were only 16 void sky experts left. Reincarnation body, don't go too far. We have already chosen to retreat. Why do you have to kill us all? One of the void sky experts gritted his teeth, his expression extremely ugly. Lin Tian didn't waste time talking nonsense with these people and directly attacked. He swung the seven-colored divine sword, and sword rays swept out in all directions. The 16 void sky experts trembled violently. Their eyes were filled with fear as they pushed their divine chi to resist with all their might. However, at this time, Lin Tian's hundredfold battle prowess was too strong. With the help of the seven-colored divine sword, a casual slash of his sword contained destructive power. The defensive divine ability of the 16 void sky experts was completely shattered in the blink of an eye. Pooh! Lin Tian held the seven-colored divine sword and pierced through one of the void sky experts' chest, shattering that person's body and divine soul. Then, he stepped forward, leaving afterimages behind with each step. He used the High Heaven Sword manual to activate the seven-colored divine sword and slashed out dozens of sword rays. No! An unwilling scream rang out as another void heaven rank powerhouse fell. And this was only the beginning. With his hundredfold battle prowess, Lin Tian was too strong at this time. The seven-colored divine sword was like a source of destruction. Stop, stop! Reincarnation body, let us go! Ah! Terrified cries for mercy and shrill cries resounded incessantly. Streams of blood sprayed out, and it was practically on the verge of dying space red. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian swung his sword and killed one void heaven expert after another until only one remained. Don't kill me. I am willing to be your slave for all eternity. I am willing to form a master-servant mother-child curse with you and be at your beck and call, that person said with a trembling voice. He really didn't want to be killed. Lin Tian raised his hand and didn't waste any more words. He swung his sword straight at the last void sky powerhouse. At the same time, the sky rumbled. Not far away, a giant palm print of holy light pressed down, grabbing towards Sushu, who was in the final state of nirvanic rebirth within the divine phoenix barrier. The might of the divine phoenix level interweaved around the giant palm, extremely frightening. Sky-reaching level experts? Thousands of feet away, the white tiger, Ruoxian, and little Taichu's expressions changed. At this time, a divine phoenix level expert actually came to snatch the divine phoenix barrier's final Dao fruit. Lin Tian was also moved. He killed the last void sky powerhouse with a single slash of his sword, and then directly stepped towards the giant palm of holy light. Boom! This time, he naturally felt the sky-reaching level pressure interweaved around the giant palm of holy light. He didn't act as casually as when he dealt with the dozens of void sky powerhouses earlier. Instead, he fiercely swung his seven-colored divine sword and slashed at the giant palm of holy light. In the blink of an eye, his sword landed firmly on the giant palm of holy light. All of a sudden, with a loud boom, the surrounding void began to crumble apart bit by bit. The giant palm of holy light trembled violently and was forcefully shaken away. At the same time, with a bang, Lin Tian was sent flying. Blood splattered in the void, and his sword-wielding hand was almost directly shattered. Even though he had now raised his strength to the sovereign level with the ancestral dragon veins dragon chi, and then multiplied his battle strength by 100 times, and had the help of the seven-color divine sword, he was still seriously injured. Reincarnation body. What do you want to do? A cold voice sounded. In the sky, the giant palm of holy light that pressed down dissipated, and a middle-aged man in a black robe appeared. His entire body was surrounded by a dazzling holy light. This was a sky-reaching level expert. At this moment, he was looking at Lin Tian with deep and cold eyes. At the same time, there was a hint of shock in his eyes. This was because Lin Tian's cultivation was clearly only at the Saint King level, but the aura he exuded was enough to be called a king in the Void Sky domain. In particular, the seven-colored divine sword shocked him. Lin Tian actually used that sword to shake off his giant palm of holy light. Lin Tian was sent flying. He stabilized his body and circulated the nirvana of the sun technique. His injuries quickly healed as he looked at the middle-aged man in the black robe. "Don't even think about touching her. Get lost," he said coldly. Even though he was facing a sky-reaching level expert and knew that he was no match for him, he didn't have the slightest scruple or fear. The middle-aged man in the black robe's eyes turned cold. He didn't say anything else and directly raised his hand to grab Sushu, who was in the godly phoenix barrier. The godly phoenix had finally undergone nirvana. If one could snatch the fruit away at this time, even a sky-reaching level expert could double or triple his strength in a short time. This temptation was so great that even a sky-reaching level expert would find it difficult to resist. Killing intent flashed in Lin Tian's eyes. He shook the seven-colored divine sword in his hand and directly pushed it to the limit, slashing at the middle-aged man. Clang! The seven-colored divine sword vibrated, and killing intent filled the sky as if it wanted to cut everything in the world into pieces. The destructive aura was terrifying. The middle-aged man in the black robe's eyes flickered. Lin Tian's current combat strength was too strange, and the seven-colored divine sword in his hand was too shocking. Although it wasn't enough to threaten him, it still surprised him. However, in the next moment, the surprise in his eyes dissipated. With a cold snort, the huge palm print pressing down on Lin Tian became even more powerful, shattering the void. Lin Tian held the seven-colored divine sword and slashed at the middle-aged man again and again, colliding with him and preventing him from grabbing Sushu. After colliding with the middle-aged man again and again, he wasn't sent flying like before. However, the hand holding the sword cracked, and blood gushed out of his mouth. "Father!" Thousands of feet away, Ruoxian was anxious. The White Tiger and Little Taichu were also anxious. Lin Tian's combat strength, accumulated through various means, was enough to easily kill an ordinary dominator. However, he was no match for a sky-reaching level expert. Now he was completely putting his life on the line. Rumble! Terrifying Saint energy surged. At this moment, in the distant sky, another expert with a sky-reaching level expert's aura appeared. The primordial godly phoenix can only display its greatest potential after being reborn from fire. This is the second case since the phoenix ancestor. Chapter 2092. After the black-robed middle-aged man, the second reaching heaven realm cultivator arrived. His saintly aura surged as he wore a blood-red robe. His holy hand landed directly on the godly phoenix barrier, grabbing towards Sushu, who was surrounded by the godly phoenix fire essence. Buzz! The godly phoenix barrier bloomed with a blazing holy light. The faint cry of the godly phoenix reverberated, blocking the holy hand of the reaching heaven realm cultivator. You've already reached the reaching heaven realm back then? The barrier you set up is actually able to stop me. The eyes of the red-robed middle-aged man froze. He was clearly surprised. Then, the holy light around his body surged and continued to press towards the godly phoenix barrier. The godly phoenix boundary emitted an even stronger fiery light, forcefully blocking the blood-robed middle-aged man's great palm print of holy light. This made it difficult for the blood-robed middle-aged man's great palm print of holy light to break through the godly phoenix boundary in a short period of time. However, Sushu, who was inside the godly phoenix boundary, was shaken. In the process of undergoing the final nirvana, her face suddenly paled and blood slowly flowed from the corners of her mouth. Lil Miss. In the distance, Ruashian couldn't help but shout. She was shocked, angry, and anxious. The white tiger and little Taichu were also anxious and angry. However, they couldn't do anything at this time. With their current strength, they couldn't help at all. If they rushed up, they would cause trouble for Lin Tian, who was protecting Sushu. They would be a burden to Lin Tian. At this time, Lin Tian gave up on the other black-robed middle-aged man. Holding the rainbow divine sword, he stepped forward and slashed at the red-robed middle-aged man. Scram! Seeing that Sushu, who was in nirvana, was bleeding from the impact, his black hair fluttered wildly. His eyes were full of anger and murderous intent. He seemed a little violent. The rainbow divine sword was pushed to the limit by him. With a clang, the sword landed on the arm of the red-robed middle-aged man that was pressing against the godly phoenix barrier. The middle-aged man in blood-red robes trembled slightly. With a swoosh, the holy light handprint was shattered by the raging sword. Moreover, there were streaks of blood floating in the air. It was a ghastly sight. His arm had been shaken until there were cracks all over it. Reincarnation body. Staring at Lin Tian, the crimson-robed middle-aged man's eyes turned cold. He was a transcending heaven realm powerhouse, but now his arm had been shattered by a Saint King realm cultivator. Although most of his focus was placed on the divine phoenix barrier, and he didn't have any seed to defend against the rainbow divine sword, having his arm shattered like that was still a humiliation for a master of his level. Scram, Lin Tian said in a cold voice. He slashed horizontally with the rainbow divine sword, sweeping out a sky full of rainbow sword rays as he furiously slashed towards the blood-robed middle-aged man. This sword was even stronger than the previous one. It seemed to be able to cut through everything. The red-robed middle-aged man's eyes turned even colder. This level of attack was not enough to threaten him, but it did not mean that he could just ignore it. He immediately unleashed his saint energy and slammed it towards the sword light that Lin Tian was slashing down. Chi, chi, chi. Along with a series of soft sounds, Lin Tian's sword light was completely shattered in the blink of an eye. All of them turned into light and dissipated. Reincarnation body, do you want to die? If you take the initiative to attack again, I can still kill you. It's not like I took the initiative to attack you. The red-robed middle-aged man said coldly. Lin Tian didn't say anything. The saint light around his body surged as the Taiji godly domain protected him. The rainbow divine sword slashed horizontally at the red-robed middle-aged man. The red-robed middle-aged man's eyes turned even colder. With a cold snort, his saint aura surged as an unparalleled light pressed towards Lin Tian. In just a moment, Lin Tian's saint body trembled violently as blood gushed out of his mouth. However, his expression didn't change. It was filled with violence and murderous intent. Whoosh! On the other side, the black-robed middle-aged man moved. While Lin Tian was blocking the red-robed middle-aged man, he raised his hand and unleashed his saint energy to grab Sushu, who was in the midst of nirvana within the divine phoenix barrier. Scram! Lin Tian's mouth was bleeding. His eyes were cold and filled with violence. While blocking the red-robed middle-aged man, he swept the rainbow divine sword toward the black-robed middle-aged man. The rainbow sword rays intertwined, filling the sky with rainbow, killing lights. In an instant, he blocked the attacks of two immortal ascension cultivators by himself. Rumbling sounds could be heard. Terrifying saint energy surged in this place, quickly attracting many cultivators nearby. This was because many cultivators had entered this underground world. There were at least hundreds of thousands of them. Many of them sensed the terrifying aura here. That's the divine phoenix Tao fruit? These cultivators naturally saw the divine phoenix barrier as soon as they arrived here. It was too eye-catching. Looking at the divine phoenix barrier and Sushu bathed in the divine phoenix essence fire, these cultivators were all shocked. The divine phoenix from back then didn't die. That woman is the reincarnation of the divine phoenix. She's undergoing nirvana. Although these cultivators weren't very strong, they weren't weak either. The weakest of them was at the heavenly god tier. Naturally, They had good eyesight and saw through many things in an instant. The divine phoenix undergoing nirvana in nirvana. This kind of Tao fruit is priceless. It's also endlessly beneficial to immortal ascension cultivators. Many people's eyes lit up. Then, these cultivators naturally saw Lin Tian, the black-robed middle-aged man, and the red-robed middle-aged man who were fighting fiercely. That's the reincarnation body. Those two people seem to be the darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor. The reincarnation body, is actually fighting fiercely with those two immortal ascension cultivators at the same time. His cultivation is obviously only at the Saint King tier, but his aura is actually so strong. Also, that sword's power, it's simply... These cultivators were shocked. The darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor are obviously here for the divine phoenix Tao fruit. Is the reincarnation body fighting with them? It doesn't look like it. He seems to be protecting the woman inside and stopping the darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor. Many cultivators were shocked. Originally, these cultivators had come to this underground world for the divine phoenix Tao fruit in this underground space. However, at this time, the divine phoenix Tao fruit was right in front of them, but none of these cultivators dared to go forward. After all, the most powerful among these cultivators was only at the Saint King tier. At this time, when they saw Lin Tian, the darkest sages, and the northern black poison emperor, how could they dare to go there to fight for the divine phoenix Tao fruit? If they really went there, they would definitely be wiped out in an instant. Boom! 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 In front of the battlefield, Lin Tian blocked the darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor by himself and swept out sword rays that filled the sky. He had already used the ancestral dragon energy underground to improve his cultivation. At this time, he did not draw out a large amount of ancestral dragon energy from the underground. Therefore, the darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor, who were at the heaven-reaching level, did not notice the abnormality in this place. Most of their attention was focused on the divine phoenix barrier. Clang! He shook the rainbow divine sword, and in the blink of an eye, a large sword energy storm was formed and swept across the darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor. In the process, he did not hurt the two of them. He was injured by the two of them again and again, but he blocked the two heaven-reaching level existences and prevented them from getting close to the divine phoenix barrier. Boom! Suddenly, in the distant sky, the firmament shook, and another heaven-reaching level aura appeared. In the southeast, 3 figures appeared. All of them were intertwined with heaven-reaching level aura. Wherever they passed, a large area of space was shattered. In the southwest, 6 figures surrounded by lightning were very fast. It was as if the god of thunder had come out and arrived in the blink of an eye. Chapter 2093. From different directions, more than 20 immortal ascension level experts strode over, causing everyone's expression to change. That's the King of Darkness. Eternal Peace, Immortal. King of Hell, Tongbei. The Thunder Clan's 7th Elder, 8th Elder, 9th Elder, 10th Elder, 11th Elder, and 12th Elder. Of the 12 Heavenspan Prime Elders in this bloodline, there are actually 6 of them: Lord of Lini, Lord of Xian Quan, Lord of Duan Rome, Lord of Final Pass, Lord of Nanjing, Lord of Heaven Hiyu. The Celestial Court is here too. 15 Heaven Masters. In the Celestial Void Realm, there were not many immortal ascension levels. In total, there were only about 1,000 of them. Therefore, everyone in the cultivation world of the Celestial Void Realm knew about them. The Ruaxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu's expressions changed drastically. Lin Tian had already put his life on the line to stop just 2 heaven-connecting stage experts, and was continuously injured. However, now, 24 more such existences had arrived. In front of them, holy light intertwined. After the 10 Heaven Masters of the Celestial Court, the 6 Supreme Elders of the Thunder Clan, and the King of Darkness appeared, their gazes fell on the godly Phoenix boundary. The Primordial Phoenix clan fought with their lives on the line. Once they achieved nirvana, they wouldn't be much weaker than the immortal spirit royal family. She's on her way to success. Extraordinary Tao fruit. Dazzling light intertwined in the eyes of more than 20 people. All of them grabbed towards the divine phoenix barrier because they had sensed the aura of the divine phoenix's final nirvana. They had all come to seize the divine phoenix's final nirvana Tao fruit. "Get out of my way!" A cold voice rang out. Lin Tianyi blocked the darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor while waving the rainbow divine sword. A dazzling rainbow sword light bloomed and swept towards the 20 people. The faces of the 24 immortal ascension level experts sank. When they arrived, they naturally saw Lin Tian, but they didn't move. Because of an old drunkard, they didn't dare to take the initiative to attack Lin Tian. They only looked inside the godly phoenix boundary. When they saw Lin Tian waving his sword at them, they all revealed a cold expression. In particular, the 15 heaven masters of the celestial court had obvious murderous intent in their eyes. The celestial court had looked down on the heaven realm for countless years. In the past, they had only been afraid of the human king and had only lost face in the hands of the human king. That incident had happened so long ago that they had almost forgotten about it. However, in this era, an old drunkard was like the human king back then. He had made them lose face again and made them experience the feeling of losing face again. This feeling was incomparably uncomfortable. This uncomfortable feeling had always existed. When they saw Lin Tian now, their eyes were naturally colder than the others. This was because Lin Tian was an old drunkard's disciple. More importantly, an old drunkard's warning to the celestial court and the entire heaven realm of nothingness was caused by Lin Tian. "Do you want to die?" Heaven Master Xian Quan said coldly. His eyes were extremely cold, as if they could freeze everything in this world. As he spoke, this person and the others attacked together, shattering all the 7-colored sword lights that Lin Tian had slashed out. "Don't even think of touching her." Lin Tian's mouth was bleeding, but his eyes were as cold as Heaven Master Xian Quan's, carrying a sharp and intimidating murderous intent. Heaven Master Xian Quan and the others naturally knew that the herb Lin Tian was referring to was Sushu in the Divine Phoenix Barrier. They could also see that Lin Tian was now protecting the reincarnation of the Divine Phoenix Barrier. However, they did not care about the reason. "Who do you think you are? You're just an ant. You should be grateful that we didn't touch you, but you still want to order us around?" The eyes of the dozens of sky-level existences were very cold. Then, they moved again, grabbing at Sushu in the Divine Phoenix Barrier. Dozens of sky-level saint powers surged. Lin Tian held the 7-colored divine sword tightly and madly activated this divine sword, blocking the dozens of sky-level powerhouses. The sharp sword light spread out in all directions. The eyes of the dozens of sky-level powerhouses turned even colder and more sinister. Their attacks became heavier, and the surging saint powers surged. The 7-colored sword lights that filled the sky were shattered. Lin Tian spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His body was immediately covered with cracks, and blood flowed out. However, his expression did not change. His blood-dyed black hair danced wildly, and the 7-colored divine sword in his hand bloomed with an even more dazzling light. He slashed at the dozens of sky-level powerhouses, blocking dozens of others, not allowing anyone to get close to Sushu. "Daddy!" Thousands of feet away, Ruoxian clenched her fists. She was very upset to see her father, who had doted on her since she was born, being injured continuously. The white tiger and little Taichu's expressions were also very ugly. They were shocked and angry, but at this time, there was nothing they could do. At the same time, the other cultivators were moved by this scene. They could not help but be shocked. What's his relationship with the reincarnation of the Divine Phoenix? Why is he fighting so hard for her? That's not important, right? Now, he's clearly only a sky-level cultivator, but he's actually blocking dozens of sky-level powerhouses by himself. How did he do it? How can he do such a thing? The group of cultivators watched in disbelief as Lin Tian blocked more than 20 sky-level powerhouses by himself. Boom! 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 Shocking saint energy surged. The saint light lingered, and the sword light filled the sky. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 breaths had passed. Lin Tian blocked more than 20 sky-level powerhouses by himself. He kept waving the seven-colored divine sword, and the seven-colored sword light filled all directions. Blood kept splattering from his body. Heaven Master Xianquan and the others were surrounded by sky-level aura, and their eyes were gradually filled with shock. They were all sky-level powerhouses, but now a sky-level cultivator was actually blocking dozens of them by himself. This was unbelievable. Even if Lin Tian was the most powerful reincarnated being, and even if the seven-colored divine sword was extraordinary, it was absolutely impossible for him to block dozens of sky-level powerhouses with a sky-level cultivation. But now, the truth was right in front of them, and they had no choice but to believe it. Lin Tian had indeed done it. Although he did not hurt them at all, and although they kept injuring Lin Tian had indeed blocked them time and time again. In a short time, they could not break through Lin Tian's blockade and could not get close to the Divine Phoenix barrier. Enough! You took the initiative to attack us, and you asked for it. You can't blame anyone for dying in our hands. Even if we kill you and take your source energy, your master will have nothing to say. The 8th elder of the Thunder Clan said coldly. His eyes were emotionless, and there was also a light of greed intertwined. The sky-level aura around his body suddenly increased several times. An endless holy light pressed down on Lin Tian. At the same time, the other 20 sky-level powerhouses' eyes were also intertwined with a bright light. Their sky-level aura also became stronger, and they pressed down on Lin Tian with all their might. Some even directly grabbed at Lin Tian's abdomen, wanting to take the reincarnation source energy directly. Unparalleled sky-level aura immediately shrouded the entire space. It's over. Even if he is the strongest reincarnated being, no matter how strange he is, no matter how many tricks he has up his sleeves, no matter how terrifying the sword in his hand is, his cultivation level is still there. How can he withstand the attacks of dozens of sky-level beings? This he did take the initiative to attack. Even if his source energy was taken away, his master will have nothing to say. Why is he protecting the reincarnated Divine Phoenix? This, I don't understand. The group of cultivators shook their heads and sighed. Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu's expressions changed drastically. The combined attack of dozens of sky-level powerhouses at this time was too powerful. Lin Tian definitely couldn't block it. For a moment, they couldn't hold it in anymore. Even if they knew that their strength wouldn't be of any help, they still couldn't help but rush over. Then, almost at the same time, in this space, the melodious sound of the flute dissipated. Lin Tian, who was enveloped by dozens of sky-level auras, disappeared instantly. Sushu, who was inside the Divine Phoenix barrier, also disappeared. The next moment, she appeared beside Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu, causing Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu to stop at the same time. At the same time, several other figures appeared beside them. The Violet Fairy, Jiyu, Baiqiu, Shuiyi, Linshi, AI, Ziyu, and Yinyumber. Chapter 2094. Ruoxian, White Tiger, and Little Taichu were all stunned at the same time. Then they were all overjoyed. Mother! Seeing that Wu Yi had finally arrived, Ruoxian almost cried. Then she quickly ran to Lin Tian's side. Father, how are you? White Tiger and Little Taichu were pleasantly surprised. After that, they quickly rushed to Lin Tian's side. Lin Tian had suddenly disappeared from the battlefield. Together with Sushu and the Phoenix barrier that enveloped Sushu, he had appeared here. They knew that this must have something to do with Wu Yi. It must be the power of space that had caused Lin Tian and Sushu to teleport. Lin Tian, brother, Jiyu, Shuiyi, and Lin Shi appeared here. Naturally, they immediately rushed to Lin Tian's side. All of them were upset and angry. In their field of vision, Lin Tian was covered in blood. The surface of his body was covered in cracks. His life force was very weak. It was as if he would die at any moment. Wu Yi was dressed in a white silk dress. She was so beautiful that it was almost unreal. It was as if she had walked out of a painting. At this moment, she was beside Lin Tian. She squatted down in front of Lin Tian. A pure holy light immediately overflowed from her body and enveloped Lin Tian. In an instant, Lin Tian's injuries began to heal at an extremely fast speed. Lin Tian was severely injured at this moment. His life force was at its lowest. His consciousness was a little hazy. Even his vision was very blurry. However, he could still sense that Wu Yi had arrived. At the same time, he could also sense that Violet Fairy, Jiyu, and Lin Shi had all come together. They were all here now. You're here. His voice was weak. His blurry eyes saw Violet Fairy, Jiyu, and the others. Then his gaze fell on Wu Yi. Although he was severely injured at this moment, he still forced a smile. Yes. Wu Yi nodded. She was still as calm as ever. There were still no clear fluctuations on her beautiful face. However, her gaze was not as gentle as it usually was. Instead, it was much more serene. The divine splendor that surged towards Lin Tian became even more intense. At the same time, all of the other cultivators were visibly moved. That is, everyone's eyes fell on Wu Yi at this moment. The first thing they did was not to be surprised by Lin Tian and Su Shu's sudden movement, but to be stunned by Wu Yi's appearance. Regardless of age, gender, at this moment, they were all stunned. That kind of appearance was so beautiful that no one could find the right words to describe it. It made everything pale in comparison. Only after a dozen breaths did these people remember the matter of Lin Tian and Su Shu in the Divine Phoenix Barrier. The reincarnated body and the reincarnated Divine Phoenix actually moved all of a sudden. Well, what is going on? Could it be related to that white-dressed woman? That white-dressed woman and the other 8 women. How did they appear just now? These cultivators looked at Lin Tian, Su Shu, Wu Yi, the Violet Fairy, and Jiyu in shock. Even the darkest sages, the Northern Black Poison Emperor, the 6 great elders of the Thunder Clan, and the 15 Heaven Masters of the Celestial Court were frowning. Even as powerful as they were, they could not sense how Lin Tian and Su Shu were suddenly moved, nor could they see how Wu Yi and the others appeared. Because of these doubts, they did not move for a while. Beside Lin Tian, Wu Yi was as calm as usual. Divine splendor continuously surged towards Lin Tian. It was pure and peaceful, causing Lin Tian's essence, qi, and spirit to recover rapidly. In the blink of an eye, his injuries were healed, but his essence, qi, and spirit had not yet recovered to their peak. That's great, Father. Seeing that Lin Tian's injuries had healed, the Ruaxian was very happy and jumped into Lin Tian's arms. It's great that you're fine. It's great that you're fine, Jiyu said. He repeated, it's great that you're fine twice. It was obvious that he had been very worried before. The Violet Fairy, Shui Yi, and the others also let out long sighs of relief. They were all relieved. Just a while ago, Lin Tian's condition was not very good. This bunch of old things. The White Tiger looked at the darkest sages and the others in the distance, his eyes full of coldness. Jiyu, Bai Qiu, and the others also looked at the dozens of transcending heaven realm cultivators, their eyes filled with coldness and anger. Then, in the next moment, their gazes shifted again, landing on Su Shu, who was within the Divine Phoenix Barrier. I didn't expect Sister Su Shu to be. Shui Ye's eyes were filled with unconcealable shock. At the same time, the Violet Fairy, Yin Yim and the other girls were also shocked. Because of Wu Yi, the girls had seen many things on their way here before they arrived. They knew that Su Shu was the reincarnation of the primordial Divine Phoenix, and they were all very shocked. Lin Tian's injuries had healed at this time. His gaze also fell on Su Shu, who was in the godly Phoenix Barrier. Naturally, he could feel Jiyu and the others' shock, but he did not say anything. He looked at Su Shu. Su Shu was still in the final stages of nirvana, and it seemed that she could not sense the outside world. Her eyes were closed, and she was enveloped by the godly Phoenix Barrier. The godly Phoenix essence fire and the fire Phoenix were constantly surging into her body. However, her face was a little pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Looking at this scene, Lin Tian could not help but clench his fists. This was caused by the Northern Black Poison Emperor. While he was angry, he also blamed himself. He blamed himself for not being able to protect Su Shu. Wu Yi was very calm, and one could not tell if she was happy, angry, or sad. Her gaze also fell on Su Shu. She reached out and touched the godly phoenix barrier, entering it without any resistance. Her hand landed on Su Shu's cheek, and she wiped away the bloodstain at the corner of Su Shu's mouth. This is... In the distance, the Northern Black Poison Emperor was immediately shocked. Previously, when he was close to the godly phoenix barrier, he spent a lot of energy but still could not break through it. But now, in his field of vision, Wu Yi directly put her hand into the barrier, and the godly phoenix essence fire seemed to exist in vain. There was no reaction at all. Moreover, the terrifying godly phoenix essence fire that could burn everything in the godly phoenix barrier did not hurt Wu Yi at all. It was as if the fire was fake. At the same time, Lin Tian was also shocked. He could feel that the godly phoenix barrier was incomparably tough. Moreover, he had seen with his own eyes that the godly phoenix barrier had stopped the Northern Black Poison Emperor, and the Northern Black Poison Emperor had not been able to break through the godly phoenix barrier's blockade in a short period of time, even after using extremely strong saint power. But now Wu Yi had easily done it. He looked at Wu Yi. How powerful was Wu Yi now? When you left them to me. It's my responsibility to protect them. It was also at this time that Wu Yi spoke. However, she did not move her lips. Instead, she used her divine consciousness to communicate. Lin Tian was immediately moved. Wu Yi. When they were trapped in the Wushang domain for more than 300 years, Wu Yi could not use her divine consciousness because her cultivation base was suppressed to zero. Gradually, she adapted to speaking like an ordinary person instead of using her divine consciousness to speak. Since then, Wu Yi had been speaking like an ordinary person all these years. After he married Wu Yi, they had a Ruoxian. Once, when Wu Yi brought Ruoxian out to play, he smiled and said to Wu Yi that it had been a long time since he had seen Wu Yi use her divine consciousness to speak, and he missed it. He did not know when Wu Yi would use her divine consciousness to speak again. Chapter 2095. Lin Tian's gaze wavered as he looked at Wu Yi. Wu Yi was angry. Within the godly phoenix enchantment, the godly phoenix fire essence danced and burned. It was even more terrifying than the godly fire essence. However, Wu Yi's hand was not burned at all. Wu Yi wiped the blood from the corner of Su Shu's mouth and took one last look at Su Shu. Then, she stood up and looked at the darkest sages and the others. Looking at the dozens of immortal sages, there was no anger on her face. However, she was no longer as calm as she usually was. Mother, they've gone too far. They're all demons in human skin, Ruoxian said as she glared at the dozens of immortal sages. The faces of the more than 20 immortal sages darkened when they heard that. They were immortal sages, but they were being called demons in human skin. The darkest sages looked at Ruoxian and said coldly, "Stupid girl, who do you think you are? Speak." Slap. The sound of a slap was extremely loud and clear. Before venerable extreme darkness could finish his words, the space beside him suddenly became distorted. The outline of a palm appeared and landed on his face at an extremely fast speed, directly sending him flying. Then the space shook again. The darkest sages did not even have time to stabilize himself before he was smashed into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere, and even his soul was destroyed. The darkest sages are dead. What? What happened? The space at such a scene immediately caused the faces of everyone present to turn pale. The darkest sages, immortal sages, had been famous in the celestial realm of nothingness for countless years. Now he was dead. The most frightening thing was that they did not even see anyone make a move throughout the entire process. Even people as strong as the 10 heaven masters of the celestial court and the 6 supreme elders of the Thunder Clan were shocked. At the same time, Lin Tian couldn't help but tremble slightly. Wu Yi, The darkest sages had just opened his mouth to berate Ruashian when she was attacked. Naturally, he knew that Wu Yi was the culprit. And immortal sages had actually been killed by Wu Yi in an instant. During this entire process, Wu Yi stood in the same spot and did not move at all. She only glanced at the other party. At the same time, the White Tiger and Little Taichu naturally knew that the death of the darkest sages was related to Wu Yi. At this moment, they trembled slightly like Lin Tian. The darkest sages was an omnipotent expert, but he was destroyed with a single glance. Space Divine Law. Within one's field of vision, space is a weapon wherever one's gaze passes. However, to destroy everything with one's gaze, the White Tiger was stunned. Ruashian, the Violet Fairy, Jiyu, and the others also knew that Wu Yi was the culprit. However, they did not show the same expression of shock as Lin Tian, the White Tiger, and Little Taichu. This was because they had been cultivating with Wu Yi all these years. They knew very well how powerful Wu Yi was now. Wu Yi, kill all of them, the Violet Fairy said coldly. She did not call Wu Yi Little Yi as she usually did. This was because she was very angry. These people dared to make such a futile attempt to steal the fruit of Tao from Sushu's past and present lives. They interfered with Sushu's nirvana and injured her favorite brother so severely. In front of them, the 15 heaven masters of the Celestial Court, the 6 supreme elders of the Thunder Clan, the Northern Black Poison Emperor, the fierce king of Fullin, the immortal of eternal peace, and the king of Hell Tongbei all looked at Wu Yi. They all sensed that the death of the darkest sages was related to Wu Yi. Their pupils shrank slightly. The Northern Black Poison Emperor said in a low voice. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked at Wu Yi and said, "Just now, you killed." The space trembled and a light blade flashed. It cut off the Northern Black Poison Emperor's words and cut him into pieces. Blood splattered across the sky. Moreover, his spiritual body was also annihilated. Wu Yi did not show any anger. However, she was no longer as calm and gentle as she usually was. A breeze blew around her. The hem of her white dress swayed slightly in the breeze. An aura that caused the heavens and earth to tremble spread out from her body. Then, in the next moment, the vast celestial realm of nothingness darkened. Ear-piercing thunder exploded in the sky. Divine chains made of light shuttled back and forth in the sky like divine dragons. The entire celestial realm of nothingness shook violently. In an instant, everyone in this place trembled and turned pale. At this time, the crowd of cultivators all looked at Wu Yi. This time, it was not because of her unreal beauty, but because of the pressure that caused the heavens and earth to tremble. Facing such a terrifying pressure, facing the darkened sky and the violently shaking celestial realm of nothingness, these cultivators could not even say a word. At this moment, they collectively lost their voices and trembled. At the same time, they all knew that the darkest sages and the Northern Black Poison Emperor had definitely died at Wu Yi's hands. Lin Tian's eyes could not help but flicker violently. Like the other cultivators, he was completely stunned at this moment. Ruashian had mentioned that they had accidentally found a time-space in the super ancient tomb and obtained an extra 2,000 years of time. He did not expect that Wu Yi had become so strong in these 2,000 years. As this aura appeared, he clearly felt that in the boundless heavens and earth, all the Daos were trembling. The White Tiger and the Little Taichu were as shocked as he was. At this time, they could not stop trembling, and their eyes were full of shock. At the same time, the 15 heaven masters of the Celestial Court, the 6 supreme elders of the Thunder Clan, the Fullin King, Eternal Peace Ji Xian, and Tong Bei Yama's expressions changed drastically. In an instant, they broke out in cold sweat, and their eyes were filled with unconcealable fear. At this moment, just the pressure alone caused the vast celestial realm of nothingness to almost explode and collapse, causing them to panic uncontrollably. Moreover, the most important thing was that the divine dragon-like divine chains of light in the sky made them feel incomparably terrified. They recognized that it was the material form of the power of order. It was the divine chains of order. One person could actually cultivate order, which was already extremely terrifying and difficult to control, to such an extent that the entire sky of the celestial realm of nothingness was filled with divine chains of order. Was he still human? Was this something that could be done by a human? Go, go, go. A heaven master of the celestial court said in a trembling voice, and his body could not stop shaking. He called out to the other heaven masters and immediately fled far away. At the same time, the six supreme elders of the Thunder Clan, the full En King, Eternal Peace Ji Xian, and Tong Bei Yama's faces were filled with horror. At this moment, they completely lost the dignity and calmness that heaven masters should have and fled like stray dogs. There was basically no need to use too many of them. At this moment, these tens of Empyreans were very clear that it was impossible for them to block an existence that possessed such terrifying might and had cultivated the power of order to such a degree. The disparity between them was simply immeasurable. For a time, the dozens of heaven masters were extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had crossed an endless distance. It was also at this time that the order in the sky was turbulent, and Wu Yi's divine voice floated in all directions. Don't even think about leaving. Almost as soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding space shook violently, and the dozens of transcending heaven experts who had escaped in all directions were immediately jolted back to where they were. Chapter 2096. The sky darkened, and the divine chains of order covered the sky. After the darkest sages and the northern black poison emperor, the fierce king of En also died in an instant. He was pierced by the divine chains of order, and he was unable to resist the terrifying power of the rules. His body and soul were destroyed on the spot. Lin Tian looked ahead. His gaze fell on Wu Yi, and he could not help but flicker. He could feel that Wu Yi was extremely angry now. Otherwise, she would not have said something like, "None of you can leave," when she attacked. That was not in line with her personality at all. This is simply. The white tiger could not help but tremble, and his eyes were filled with horror. 3 heaven-reaching level existences had died in the blink of an eye. All of them were destroyed in an instant. How frightening was this? At the same time, the other cultivators in this place were also shocked. They could not help but feel terrified. There were less than 1,000 heaven-reaching level existences in the entire heaven realm of nothingness. But now, 3 of them were killed in the blink of an eye. They were cut down like tofu. That scene sent chills down everyone's spine. The reincarnation body. Other than his master, there is actually such a terrifying existence by his side. What is his relationship with her? It seems to be the reincarnation body's wife. Previously, I heard that beautiful girl call him father and her mother. Previously, Ruoxian called Lin Tian father and Wu Yi mother. Naturally, some of the cultivators in this place had heard it. At this time, they guessed the relationship between Wu Yi and Lin Tian. The cultivators were all shocked and horrified by the relationship between Wu Yi and Lin Tian. At the same time, they also felt a sense of envy and jealousy. Lin Tian not only had an extremely terrifying master behind him, but he also had such a beautiful and unreal wife by his side. She was so powerful that she made all Daos tremble. Rumble. Above the sky, numerous divine chains of order interweaved. They were like numerous divine dragons that could destroy the world, suppressing the entire world. The heavenly masters of the celestial court, the 6 grand elders of the Thunder Clan, Eternal Peace Ji Xian, and Yama King Tongbei couldn't help but tremble. The aura exuded by the divine chains of order was too oppressive. Just the aura alone was enough to make them panic. These people were the same as the other cultivators. Because of how Ruoxian addressed Lin Tian and Wu Yi, they all knew about the relationship between Wu Yi and Lin Tian. The Thunder Clan's 7th elder gritted his teeth and said with difficulty, "Miss, we know our wrongs. Our Thunder Clan has existed for countless years. Please give us some face and let us go. Our clan is grateful, and we will definitely..." Boom! The heavens rumbled as a divine chain of order descended like a thunderbolt. instantly piercing through the seventh elder of the Thunder Clan. There was no blood, no screams. The Thunder Clan's seventh elder disintegrated like a beam of light. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Seventh brother! The other 5 grand elders of the Thunder Clan trembled. In the heaven realm of nothingness, their clan was only weaker than the celestial court. There were 12 heavenly masters in the clan, but now one of them had been obliterated, his body and soul destroyed. However, at this time, when they looked at Wu Yi, they didn't feel angry because their 7th elder had been killed. Instead, they felt even more terrified. It was also at this time that the heavens shook again. Another divine chain of order descended, and the surrounding space fluctuated like water ripples. With a few chi-chi-chi-chi-chi sounds, the Thunder Clan's 8th elder, 9th elder, 10th elder, 11th elder, and 12th elder were penetrated by a divine chain of order. Carrying endless despair and fear, they were like the 7th elder, directly disintegrating and dying. Looking at this scene, Lin Tian was almost dumbfounded. Ascending heaven realm experts were the highest realm in the known records of cultivation. Every existence of this level was an earth-shattering figure, but now they were so weak. At the same time, the White Tiger and Little Taichu, as well as the other practitioners here, were also stunned. 6 of the Thunder Clan's 12 heavenly masters died just like that. The strength of the Great Thunder Clan has been reduced by half. When did heavenly masters become so weak? Someone murmured. It was also at this time that the heavens roared. Wu Yi stood in place and didn't move. Her eyes were deep and dark, without the usual gentleness. The space trembled and distorted with her gaze, and the divine chains of order in the heavens slashed down with her thoughts, enveloping the 15 heaven masters of the celestial court, Hungjing Ji Xian and Yamatong Bei, within the attack range. The 17 heavenly masters were all terrified. They supported themselves with all their strength to resist, urging their saint aura to the limit. All kinds of divine powers and divine Tao laws were desperately activated at this time. Some even burned their life origin to resist. However, no matter if it was the spatial laws or the divine chains of order, both of them were terrifying to the extreme. So, the divine abilities, secret techniques, and ordinary divine Tao laws that they supported were utterly useless before these 2 types of energy. 3 shattering sounds rang out. Hungjing Ji Xian, Yamatong Bei, and a heaven master of the celestial court were swept up by the space divine rule and pierced through by the divine chains of order. In the blink of an eye, they collapsed into light and dissipated. They didn't even have time to scream before they were annihilated in body and soul. Miss, please show mercy. Only the 14 heaven masters of the celestial court were left. At this time, it was even more frightening. Someone cried out. However, this was clearly useless. Wu Yi's expression didn't change, nor did she make any unnecessary movements. Wherever her gaze passed, space turned into a lethal weapon that swept up the 14 heaven masters of the celestial court. Moreover, divine chains of order once again descended from the heavens. This attack was truly terrifying to the extreme. Although the heaven masters of the celestial court were much stronger than ordinary heavenly masters, it was still very difficult for them to block this attack. In the blink of an eye, 5 of the heaven masters were engulfed by the space divine rule and pierced through by the divine chains of order. They immediately disintegrated into light and were annihilated in body and soul. The remaining 9 heaven masters were extremely terrified. They constantly burned their origin to resist the space divine rule and evade the divine chains of order with great difficulty. All the while, they couldn't stop trembling. This was because even though they were constantly burning their origin in exchange for more tyrannical fighting strength, the 9 of them knew very well that they wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. The powerful fighting strength that they had obtained by burning their origin couldn't withstand the space divine rule and divine chains of order at all. It could only allow them to struggle for a little longer, allowing them to live a little longer. Cough! Suddenly, a dry cough rang out from the horizon. It was incomparably ancient, A withered old man who looked like a corpse appeared, leaning on a gray walking stick. He was clearly very far away in the horizon a moment ago, but in the next instant, he appeared right in front of the 9 heaven masters of the celestial court, causing the heavens to tremble for a moment. At the same time, the space divine rule and the power of order pressing down on the 9 heaven masters of the celestial court were all repelled. Chapter 2097. The withered old man wore a gray robe and leaned on a walking stick. His eye sockets were sunken as if he already had half a foot in a coffin. He was no different from a corpse, but his appearance caused the expressions of all the cultivators in the underground world to change. Ancient ancestor? He's one of the ancient ancestors of the celestial court? These cultivators couldn't help but tremble when they heard the 9 celestial masters of the celestial court address the withered old man. As far as they knew, the ancient ancestors of the celestial court were all monsters who had fought with the legendary human monarch. This old man. The white tiger looked at the withered old man and couldn't help but tremble. The little Taichu, the violet fairy, and the Ruashian also trembled. Their expressions couldn't help but change. Even Lin Tian's pupils shrunk. This shriveled old man looked just like a candle that could die at any moment. It was as though a gentle breeze could blow him away. However, this caused an intense feeling of horror to rise in Lin Tian's heart. Moreover, the old man had shaken off Wu Yi's spatial laws and divine chains of order as soon as he appeared. This was enough to show how terrifying this old man was. He was definitely a super old monster. Is this the person that Senior Xian Huang mentioned before? One of the few people in the celestial court who aren't weaker than the current old man? His heart trembled as he recalled what Xian Huang had said to him. He said that there were people in the celestial court who weren't weaker than an old drunkard, but they were all in closed-door cultivation to heal their injuries and wouldn't appear for a while. Wasn't he in closed-door cultivation to heal his injuries? Could it be that his injuries have already healed? He was moved. The sky was dark and divine chains of order intertwined. Wu Yi's expression didn't change at all, and her white dress swayed gently in the wind. Of the 15 celestial masters of the celestial court, 9 of them were still alive. At this time, all of them were pleasantly surprised. They knew very well how powerful this ancient ancestor was. Back then, he had fought with the legendary human monarch and survived. Not many people in the world could stop him. Lord Ancient Ancestor, your injuries have healed? Among the 9, Heavenly Master Xian Quan bowed deeply and asked. The withered old man's eye sockets were sunken as he leaned on his walking stick and shook his head. Then he looked at Lin Tian. Wisps of dim light flashed through his sunken eyes like 2 black holes. You dare to cultivate reincarnation? You really have guts. He spoke faintly, his voice incomparably ancient. Lin Tianji felt his soul go cold. Being stared at by the other party, it was as if he had become transparent. At the same time, he was slightly surprised by the other party's words. What did he mean by daring to cultivate the cycle of reincarnation? You're quite bold. Was he referring to the fact that he was a reincarnated being? However, was it up to him to decide his own physique? Of course not. Since he couldn't, how could he be bold? What do you mean? He said in a deep voice. The other party's words made him feel very strange. The withered elder glanced at him one last time and didn't say anything else. His gaze shifted to Wu Yi. I didn't expect that there would be someone like you in this era. Looking at Wu Yi, the ancient ancestor of the celestial court, a bright light intertwined in his sunken eyes. It didn't disappear until a few breaths later. He spoke again. This old man cherishes talent, so I'll give you a chance. A reincarnated being can't escape death, and others can't live either, but you can. He looked at Wu Yi and said, join the celestial court and serve the celestial court. This old man will not kill you, and I can even make you the only master of the celestial court on the surface. You will be above all the heavenly masters of the celestial court. All the heavenly masters of the celestial court, as well as those below them, will be at your disposal. When he appeared in this place, He had already scanned the seas of consciousness of the 9 heavenly masters of the celestial court with his divine sense. He knew everything that had happened here, including the relationship between Wu Yi and Lin Tian and the others. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of all the cultivators changed. All the cultivators stared at the withered old man in shock. To think that this ancient existence who had once clashed with a human king and survived, one of the ancient ancestors of the heavenly court, would actually open his mouth and invite Wu Yi to join the heavenly court. Moreover, he would grant Wu Yi such great authority, promising that Wu Yi would be the master of the heavenly court on the surface. He would be able to control and command the heavenly court's heavenly master level heavenly masters and all the heavenly soldiers and generals below the heavenly master level. Even the 9 heavenly masters of the celestial court were moved. They had never imagined that the ancient ancestor of their bloodline would make such a decision. Who wants to join your celestial court? Old stick, how many times do you want to die? Ruoxian angrily said. Lin Tian's eyes also chilled. He naturally did not like the other party's words. Moreover, the other party's lofty attitude, as if everything was under his control, also made him very uncomfortable. Wu Yi said nothing, but his expression remained the same. In the next moment, the densely packed, divine chains of order in the sky trembled. No less than 10,000 divine chains of order pressed down. 10,000 Tao chains of order were like 10,000 world-destroying divine dragons. As they pressed down, the world around them seemed to be on the verge of disintegrating. The withered old man looked at Wu Yi, his sunken eyes flashing with disappointment. It seems that you've refused. What a pity. As he said this, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly rushed out of his withered body. It was as if a destructive volcano that had been dormant for countless years had erupted at this moment, shattering all the divine chains of order pressed down by Wu Yi. Then, in the next moment, a sonorous sound reverberated. A blood-red light suddenly appeared in the sky, and in the blink of an eye, it condensed into blood-red chains. Each blood-red chain was intertwined with a terrifying aura. Immediately, many people in the area trembled. Order! Lin Tian's expression changed. This old stick, he actually controls order, and it seems very complete. The white tiger was trembling. At the same time, Ruoxian, Little Taichu, the Violet Fairy, and the others also changed their expressions. Rumble! In the sky, Wu Yi's divine chains of order collided with the withered old man's divine chains of order, erupting one after another. Then, crisp-cracking sounds rang out one after another. In the blink of an eye, the two's divine chains of order were completely shattered. This made Lin Tian's expression change again. Wu Yi's order was actually obliterated. This was the first time he had seen such a thing. Although the other party's divine chains of order were also shattered, he was still shocked. The Violet Fairy and the others were also shocked. The 9 heaven masters of the celestial court sneered. They knew how strong this ancient ancestor of their lineage was. When they saw this ancient ancestor of their lineage shatter Wu Yi's divine chains of order that filled the sky, they were not surprised at all. This seat cherishes talent and invited you to join the celestial court. Unfortunately, you did not appreciate the invitation. The withered old man looked at Wu Yi. The aura around his body gradually became more terrifying, as if it had turned into a source of destruction that wanted to bury everything in the world. People like you cannot be used by me, so I can only obliterate you. Otherwise, you will be a huge problem in the future. Chapter 2098. That's the existence that survived the battle with the legendary human king. This is simply this level of order. Who can withstand it? In the underground space, the crowd of cultivators trembled as they looked at the towering holy shadow behind the ancient ancestor of the celestial court. Their eyes were filled with horror. The towering holy shadow was formed entirely from order, and it was surrounded by divine chains of order. How terrifying was this power? It was truly enough to destroy everything. Lin Tianzi's expression changed immediately. The power of order caused his back to turn extremely cold in an instant. The white tiger couldn't help but tremble. At the same time, the violet fairy, Jiyu, and Ruashian's expressions changed drastically when they saw the towering holy shadow. The withered corpse of the celestial court's ancient ancestor actually contained such terrifying order power. The 9 heavenly masters of the celestial court sneered. They no longer looked at Wu Yi with fear and dread. Their gazes fell on Wu Yi as if they were looking at a corpse. Behind the withered old man, the thick and dense order power condensed into a towering holy shadow. The divine chains of order around it were also incomparably terrifying. It made him look like a supreme being of heaven and earth. Although I haven't fully recovered from my injuries in the past, it's enough to kill you. He looked at Wu Yi, paused for a moment, and then spoke again. This old man will give you one last chance. Join the celestial court and serve the celestial court. This old man won't kill you and will let you be the only master of the celestial court. You can mobilize the heavenly masters of the celestial court and everyone below them as you wish. What do you think? Agree to this old man's request, and you can live. Otherwise die. As the last word of die was uttered, a violent wind swept through the space. It was mixed with the terrifying aura of order, as if it was displaying his majesty. Even the heavens trembled violently. Wu Yi was wearing a white dress. The hem of her dress swayed in the wind, and even her black hair fluttered in the wind. Her expression did not change in the slightest. Only her divine voice floated between heaven and earth. It was not as gentle as it usually was. Instead, it carried a kind of indifference. In the heavens above and on the earth below, only I reign supreme. Boom! A tyrannical pressure surged out immediately. The entire celestial world of nothingness shook violently again. The sky instantly turned pitch black, and a destructive aura spread out with her as the center. At this moment, all the Daos of heaven and earth submitted to him. Behind the withered old man, the holy figure condensed from order shattered at the first moment. The surrounding space also collapsed. The old man was sent flying like a scarecrow. A large amount of blood floated in the air. It was a ghastly sight. At that instant, all the cultivators were astounded. She. Thunder rumbled in the sky. At this moment, the sky became even darker. In this place, all the cultivators' eyes fell on Wu Yi. Everyone could not help but tremble. Many cultivators even involuntarily stepped back. Lin Tian's eyes could not help but flicker violently. This was the second time he had seen Wu Yi use this kind of technique. It was too powerful. The holy figure condensed from order by the ancient ancestor of the celestial court seemed to be able to destroy everything. However, under Wu Yi's divine technique, it was so weak that it could not withstand a single blow. It was destroyed in the blink of an eye. God! The white tiger was almost stunned. He was completely dumbfounded. Even the violet fairy and the others changed color at this moment. They were completely shocked by this scene. Just a moment ago, when they saw the withered old man summon the holy figure, they were originally worried that Wu Yi would not be able to withstand it. This was because the holy figure condensed from order was really terrifying. It really seemed like it could destroy everything. They did not expect that in just an instant, the holy figure of the withered old man would be destroyed. The withered old man was also sent flying with serious injuries. Just how strong is Sister Wu Yi? Shui Yi murmured. All these years, they had been cultivating with Wu Yi. They originally thought that they were very clear about Wu Yi's strength, but now they realized that they were still far from clear about how strong Wu Yi was. At the very least, the power that Wu Yi displayed at this time was far beyond their imagination. Opposite them, the 9 transcending heaven masters of the celestial court trembled. Ancient ancestor. Just a moment ago, when they saw their ancient ancestor summon the holy figure, they thought that Wu Yi would be dead for sure. There was no way that he would be able to withstand it. Every one of them looked at Wu Yi as if they were looking at a corpse. Unexpectedly, the outcome was completely different from what they had imagined. The holy figure of their ancient ancestor was shattered in an instant, and he was sent flying with serious injuries. They could not believe it. They were shocked and horrified. Their ancient ancestor had fought with the legendary human king in the past. Although his injuries had not healed, he was still terrifying and peerless. But now he was seriously injured by a junior. The ancient ancestor of the celestial court was sent flying. At this time, he stabilized his body. Blood was gushing out of his mouth, and his sunken eyes were filled with shock. He looked at Wu Yi in disbelief. He had used all his strength just now. Even if more than 1,000 ordinary transcending heaven masters joined forces, they would not be able to withstand it. He thought that it would be enough to kill Wu Yi, but the outcome was actually like this. Wu Yi's expression was the same as before. There was no change in his expression. He looked at the withered old man and raised his right hand. Clang! There was the sound of a sword. Divine chains of order appeared beside the withered old man and pierced through him. The withered old man trembled violently and coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. At the same time, his body was instantly covered with cracks. Like a cracked ceramic, he could shatter at any time. Ancient ancestor! The 9 heaven masters of the celestial court could not help but cry out. Their ancient ancestor had been seriously injured in the blink of an eye. In the next instant, the space around them distorted, and divine chains of order manifested. Blood splattered. 9 divine chains of order pierced through the chests of the 9 heaven masters, directly shattering them. Their bodies and souls were destroyed, and they did not even have the chance to scream. All killed. The group of cultivators was horrified. The celestial court was the #1 colossus in the celestial realm of nothingness. More than 10 heaven masters had stepped here, but now they were all killed in an instant. Even the ancient ancestor of this lineage, who had fought with the human king in the past, was not of any use. The withered old man was pierced through by the divine chains of order. His withered body was dripping with blood, but he did not die immediately like ordinary transcending heaven masters. After all, he had a very complete control of order. At this time, his expression was very ugly. There was shock and a thick chill. With a boom, his withered body shook violently, and Wu Yi's divine chains of order were shattered into pieces. Very good. You are very good. Very good. His eyes were cold as he stared at Wu Yi and said, "When this old man recovers from his injuries, I will settle the score with you." As he spoke, he looked deeply at Lin Tian. Then he directly retreated, turning into a blood-red ray of light and charging into the distance. Chapter 2099. Escaped. He actually escaped. In the underground space, the crowd of cultivators turned pale. The ancient ancestor of the celestial court had fought with the legendary human king in the past. He was extremely powerful, but now he had actually escaped. Even Lin Tian was surprised. He never thought that the powerful ancient ancestor of the celestial court would choose to escape. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. The ancient ancestor of the celestial court was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he had crossed a great distance. Wu Yi raised her hand, and the light of order interweaved around her. She paused for a moment, then put it down again. In that instant, the ancient ancestor of the celestial court had completely disappeared into the horizon. Wu Yi didn't care. She retracted her gaze from the direction that the withered old man had escaped. Then, the pitch-black sky gradually regained its light. The terrifying pressure disappeared, and the oppressive aura also dissipated. "Mother, why didn't you kill that old man? That old man isn't a good person. He's jackals of the same tribe as those heavenly masters." Ruoxian asked. Wu Yi stroked Ruoxian's hair. "It's easy to injure him, but difficult to kill him. After all, the ancient ancestor of the celestial court had complete control over order. Although he wasn't her match, she could feel that it wasn't realistic to kill him. She didn't want to do something that was futile." Oh! Ruoxian immediately understood. She tugged at Wu Yi, her eyes shining. "But mother, you're so powerful. You're many times more powerful than I imagined." That old man looked terrifying. His control over order was so powerful, but he couldn't beat you, mother. Shui, Jiyu, Lin Shi, and the others came over one after another, all of them carrying looks of shock. At the same time, they were all very excited and moved. Wu Yi was so powerful, so they were naturally very happy. Lily Yi, this is unexpected. How strong have you become? Ling asked. Among everyone, she was the one who understood Wu Yi the most. However, she wasn't clear about Wu Yi's specific strength. Yi. The little Taichu floated over and landed on Wu Yi's shoulder, rubbing against Wu Yi affectionately. It was naturally very happy to see Wu Yi again after so many years. Furthermore, the dozens of transcending heaven-tier experts who had injured Lin Tian had all been killed by Wu Yi. Lin Tian looked at Wu Yi. At this moment, she was no longer nervous and completely relaxed. Thank goodness you came. If Wu Yi hadn't arrived in time, he didn't dare to imagine the consequences. Perhaps those people would not dare to do anything to him in the end because they were afraid of an old drunkard, but he might not be able to protect Sushu. That kind of ending was not something he could bear. Wu Yi clearly knew what he was thinking at this time. She gently shook her head. Even if I didn't come, in the end, you can still protect Sushu. No one could take her away. After killing dozens of transcending heaven-tier experts, she seemed to have vented her anger. At this moment, she regained her usual gentleness. She was like a gentle spring. Lin Tian smiled bitterly and said, "Don't comfort me. No matter what, I can't stop dozens of transcending heaven-tier experts." "You can," Wu Yi said. She didn't say much. She was concise and gentle. She didn't sound emotional at all. It was as if she was just stating a fact. Lin Tian looked at her. He saw seriousness in her peaceful expression. Therefore, he stopped worrying about this problem. "All right, if you say I can, then I can." He smiled. Then he looked at Ji Yu, Shui Yi, and the others. After so many years, they finally met in the celestial realm of nothingness. These were his closest family and friends. He was quite happy. He chatted briefly with Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the others. Then his gaze fell on Sushu, who was inside the Divine Phoenix Barrier. I didn't expect Sushu to have such a powerful background. She's the reincarnation of the Divine Phoenix and was already in the Transcending Heaven tier back then. The Purple Fairy said. Yin Yipper nodded. How surprising. Yeah, who would have thought of this? Lin Tian Ondao. They were all standing beside the Divine Phoenix Barrier. They were guarding Sushu, who was in the final Nirvana stage. Sushu needed a lot of time to complete the final Nirvana stage. At this time, the group was very relaxed. They weren't nervous or vigilant because Wu Yi was here. There was also a group of cultivators around them. At this time, all of them were stunned. Their gazes fell on Wu Yi. They couldn't imagine that Lin Tian, a reincarnated body, had such a terrifying wife. She could kill an ordinary transcending heaven tier expert as easily as cutting grass. Even the ancestor of the celestial court, who had fought with a human king, was forced to flee. For a moment, everyone's gazes fell on Lin Tian again. They were all envious and jealous. Lin Tian, Wu Yi, and the others were guarding beside the Divine Phoenix Barrier. They naturally noticed these people's gazes but didn't care. The white tiger tilted its head and looked at the group of cultivators. What are you looking at? Why? You want to take the Divine Phoenix's final Tao fruit too? The group of cultivators trembled when they heard this. Oh, Lord Tiger, you don't talk nonsense? That's right. We definitely don't have that kind of intention. Definitely not. I will leave now. Leave right now. Upon hearing the white tiger's words, the crowd of cultivators was so frightened that their souls almost flew out of their bodies. They had just witnessed how Wu Yi had killed dozens of Divine Phoenix experts in an instant and forced the ancient ancestor of the Celestial Court to flee. The initial reason for this was because those dozens of Divine Phoenix experts had wanted to seize the Divine Phoenix's final Tao fruit and had severely injured Lin Tian. Now that the white tiger had asked them such a question, these cultivators felt that it was simply asking for their lives. If this was believed by that unrealistically beautiful existence, they would all be finished. In the blink of an eye, they would have to report to the King of Hell. In an instant, this place became much more spacious. At the same time, it was much quieter. I feel much better. It doesn't feel good to be surrounded by people, the white tiger said. Lin Tian didn't mind. While protecting Sushu with Wu Yi and the others, he asked about what they had experienced all these years. After that, he also found out about the present cultivation of the group. Wu Yi had undoubtedly stepped into the immortal ascension realm and had already walked an unknown distance in the immortal ascension realm. The violet fairy, Gu, and the others were all in the quasi-saint realm. Alright, there seems to be the ancestral dragon vein of the celestial realm underground in this place. When Sushu completes her nirvana, we'll think of a way to go down and borrow the dragon chi of the ancestral dragon vein to cultivate, he said. When these words came out, apart from Wu Yi, the violet fairy and the others were all shocked. The ancestral dragon vein of the void realm? In this place? Chapter 2100. If my guess is correct, the ancestral dragon's vein should be in this area, Lin Tiandao said. Previously, he had used the dragon mark to explore the ground here. Although he did not touch or see the ancestral dragon's vein, he had heard a loud dragon roar. Moreover, he had absorbed such a shocking amount of ancestral dragon chi from the ground. Therefore, he guessed that the ancestral dragon's vein of the void realm definitely existed further underground. I hope that is the case, Bai Qiu said. The ancestral dragon vein of the celestial void world was lying in this place, which was of great benefit to ordinary sky-level experts. If they could enter it to cultivate, their cultivation base and strength would definitely improve greatly in a short period of time. Immediately, a group of people stood guard here to protect Sushu. They would wait for Sushu to succeed in her nirvana before searching for the ancestral dragon's vein. Lin Tiandao looked inside the godly phoenix boundary and discovered that there was still dragon chi surging up from the ground and entering the godly phoenix boundary. It did not stop flowing in because the godly phoenix boundary had been moved. This made him shocked by Wu Yi's strength once again. Previously, he had moved Ruoxian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu away, but he did not move the godly phoenix boundary because he was worried that once he moved the godly phoenix boundary, the dragon chi would stop flowing in from the ground and affect Sushu's nirvana. However, Wu Yi had moved the godly phoenix boundary and did not affect the ancestral dragon chi at all. This was really shocking. However, when he thought about it, even the ancient ancestor of the celestial court, who had fought with the human king and survived, was forced to retreat by Wu Yi. He was no longer surprised by this. I really can't compare to her. He could not help but chuckle to himself. Wu Yi was very powerful, far more powerful than him. He could not even compare to Wu Yi now. However, he was not discouraged at all. His wife was so powerful. Why should he be discouraged? Now, he only felt happy and proud. At the same time, a bright light intertwined in his eyes. He needed to work harder. Buzz! Within the divine phoenix boundary, the divine phoenix fire essence jumped and surged into Sushu's body along with the fire phoenix. Lin Tian, Wu Yi, and the others stood guard for Sushu. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. 7 days later, in the godly phoenix boundary, the godly phoenix essence fire and fire phoenix completely merged into Sushu's body. Sushu's spiritual energy became extremely powerful. Her cultivation reached the first heaven of holy venerate. At the same time, the divine phoenix barrier trembled and turned into a beam of light that entered Sushu's body, disappearing in the blink of an eye. After that, Sushu's eyelids trembled a few times before she opened her eyes. Done. Nirvana success. The group was delighted. The divine phoenix barrier was broken and absorbed into Sushu's body. The divine shadow of the fire phoenix flashed in Sushu's eyes. In an instant, there were raging flames burning in her eyes, but they disappeared in the blink of an eye. Her eyes gradually brightened, and then they widened. Lin Tian, Sister Wu Yi. She looked at Lin Tianyi and the others, then looked at herself. With the success of her nirvana, there were many more memories in her mind. Although they were all fragmented memories, she knew a lot of things. At the very least, she knew that she had a past life, and that she was the reincarnation of the divine phoenix from before the primordial age. This shocked her. "You are still you, are Sushu." Lin Tian smiled at her. Now, Sushu had undergone nirvana and successfully merged with the fruit of Tao from back then. There were many more memories in her mind. However, her personality did not change, and she did not become the divine phoenix from back then. This actually made him happy. After all, Sushu was Sushu. She was the Sushu of this life. This was the most important thing. Oh. Sushu paused and nodded. "Yes, I am the current me." The additional memories in her mind did not make her feel uncomfortable. Her personality was still as lively and cheerful as before. Jiyu, Lin Shi, and the others were also very happy. This ending was undoubtedly the best for them. "Speaking of which, you have already undergone nirvana. Why are you only at the first tier of Holy Venerate?" The White Tiger suddenly asked. After all, Sushu had undergone nirvana in her previous life. Although she did not really succeed, she seemed to have entered the heavenly ascension realm at that time. However, after so many years, she had only reached the first tier of Holy Venerate after undergoing nirvana in this life. This made the White Tiger feel somewhat strange. After all, she has undergone nirvana. It is obviously impossible to return to her previous peak because of nirvana in an instant. She needs time to recover. After that, it should not take too long to reach the heavenly ascension realm. Lin Tiandao. The White Tiger heard this and nodded. That makes sense. Sushu had finally undergone nirvana. Other than the initial shock, she did not care about her previous life at all. Just as Lin Tian and herself had said, she was still herself, just the Sushu of this life. It's like a dream. Oh, a very, very long dream. Shi Wu Yi and the others gathered together. Ruoxian asked curiously about the feeling of undergoing nirvana. In the blink of an eye, 15 minutes passed. 15 minutes later, the group's thoughts landed on the matter of the ancestral dragon's vein. With my current ability, I can't break into the ancestral dragon's vein. Lin Tiandao looked at Wu Yi. It's up to you. If the ancestral dragon's vein of the heaven realm was really here, he believed that with Wu Yi's strength, he would definitely be able to get close to it. Wu Yi nodded. A faint light intertwined from her body and disappeared into the ground. Then, dozens of breaths passed. The light intertwined from her body enveloped Lin Tianyi and the others, and they disappeared in an instant. Then, almost in the next moment, the group appeared even deeper underground. Roar! A loud dragon's roar resounded in their ears. In front of them, a shocking dragon appeared. Because it was too huge, they could not see where the dragon's head was, nor could they see where the dragon's tail was. They could only recognize that it was a dragon. Endless psionic energy was intertwined. Instantly, the group trembled slightly. Except for Wu Yi, everyone was shocked, and then they were pleasantly surprised. Ancestral dragon's vein. That's right. It's definitely the ancestral dragon's vein. The White Tiger trembled in excitement. Lin Tian's eyes were intertwined with a bright light. At a close distance, he could sense with the dragon burial scripture. He was completely sure that this was the ancestral dragon's vein of the heaven realm. Not only was there endless psionic energy intertwined with it, but there was also dense Tao energy intertwined with it. It was very shocking. As expected, he thought to himself. His senses and his guess were completely correct. The ancestral dragon's vein of the void realm was really here. Chapter 2101. When they were really close to the ancestral dragon vein, the dragon chi was too shocking. Lin Tian could not help but be shocked. The density of this dragon chi was completely incomparable to the ancestral dragon chi that he had mobilized with the dragon burial scripture. This is really. The White Tiger was so excited that its voice trembled. Standing beside the ancestral dragon vein, the vast ancestral dragon, chi made it feel like its cultivation was about to break through. The Violet Fairy, Jiyu, and the others were also moved. Their eyes were shining. The ancestral dragon vein of a vast world like the heaven of nothingness was too extraordinary. absorb the dragon chi to cultivate. Lin Tian was the first to calm down and said, the dragon chi of the ancestral dragon vein contained an indescribable amount of spiritual energy. To them, the benefits were endless. Immediately, the group of people near the ancestral dragon vein began to circulate the ancient scripture, mobilizing the nearby ancestral dragon chi to cultivate. They did not enter the ancestral dragon vein because the ancestral dragon vein in the heaven realm was too shocking. No one below the heaven-reaching realm dared to step in directly. Their bodies could not withstand the dragon chi in the ancestral dragon vein and would be crushed instantly. Wu Yi stood quietly to the side, protecting Lin Tian and the others. This ancestral dragon vein was no longer useful to her. Lin Tian circulated the Heart Sutra of Sunday. The dragon chi in the surroundings swept over like a storm and entered his body. Immediately, the golden saint light outside his body became even denser. His essence, chi, and spirit rose rapidly. This made his heart tremble. He mobilized the ancestral dragon chi to cultivate. At this moment, he felt that his cultivation was rising rapidly. After that, in just a dozen breaths, his body trembled slightly and a majestic force surged out. His cultivation had stepped from the fifth heaven of the Saint King realm to the sixth heaven of the Saint King realm. He was rather shocked by this, but he composed himself very soon. After all, he had reached the sixth heavenly layer from the fifth heavenly layer in less than a minute. Although the energy from the ancestral dragon chi was just too shocking, the main reason was because he was already at the peak of the fifth heavenly layer and could break through at any time. Now that he had drawn in such a dense amount of ancestral dragon chi, it was an opportunity for him to reach the sixth heavenly layer in the blink of an eye. Now that his cultivation had reached the sixth level of the Saint King realm, he paused for a moment before continuing to absorb the ancestral dragon chi with the Sun Heart Sutra. At the same time, the Saint Domain was propped up by him. He used the thick ancestral dragon energy here to evolve it, causing the Saint Domain to emit extremely resplendent light in the blink of an eye. Within it, the mountains, rivers, and plants became more and more numerous, the life aura becoming denser and denser. As the Saint Domain grew, the primordial aura within it surged into Lin Tian's body. Together with the ancestral dragon chi that Lin Tian had absorbed into his body, it strengthened and tempered his body and soul. His essence, soul, and soul grew even faster. Buzz! Outside his body, the golden holy light became even thicker. His cultivation base increased rapidly. And then, an hour passed in the blink of an eye. With a rumble, his cultivation broke through again, going from the sixth heavenly layer to the seventh heavenly layer. It had to be said that the dragon chi within the ancestral dragon's vein was just too shocking. The spiritual energy was just too shocking. In just an hour, he had gone from the sixth heavenly layer to the seventh heavenly layer. Continue. He obviously sensed this and felt rather excited, but he calmed himself down in the blink of an eye. He absorbed the ancestral dragon chi to cultivate his body at an even faster rate. At the same time, he relied on the ancestral dragon chi to evolve his Saint Domain. As a matter of fact, compared to cultivating his body, he focused on evolving his Saint Domain. The surging ancestral dragon chi surged into his Saint Domain endlessly, causing it to evolve and grow at an even more shocking rate. Gradually, the senses of his soul sank into the Saint Domain. As he looked at the various objects within, his soul grew as well. As the Saint Domain continued to evolve and grow, the nameless laws of Wei appeared within him. They intertwined within him, spreading to the surface of his body before intertwining into the Saint Domain. Wu Yi was beside him, looking at the holy light outside his body. A faint light intertwined in his gentle eyes. Lin Tian naturally didn't know about this. At this moment, more of his consciousness entered the sacred region to observe the growth of the sacred region. At the same time, he also sensed the nameless light of the Tao pouring into the sacred region. Because of the influx of the light of the Tao, at this moment, everything in the sacred region started to glow. It felt as if they were worshipping the nameless light of the Tao. What kind of Tao is this? He was a little perturbed. Over the years, he had spent a lot of time comprehending the nameless holy light. His Tao power had increased a lot, but he still couldn't figure out what kind of Tao it was. The more he comprehended, the more he felt that the Tao was vast and difficult to understand. Wu He had once told him that his Tao was stronger than the laws of space and the laws of time. However, he didn't feel that way. What's going on? He felt strange. Wu Yi couldn't be lying. Since Wu Yi said that his Tao was stronger than the laws of time and space, then it must be stronger than the laws of time and space. However, he couldn't unleash the power of his Tao. He was very confused. Could it be that I can only unleash its true power if I completely control it or figure out what kind of Tao it is? He muttered to himself. He meditated seriously, but it was only for a moment. He stopped thinking about it because he couldn't figure it out even if he thought about it. In the future, I'll spend more time comprehending the nameless holy light, he thought to himself. Then he continued to cultivate diligently. For a time, the growth of the saint domain became faster. His essence, qi, and spirit also rose at an alarming rate. In the blink of an eye, 6 hours passed. His essence, qi, and spirit increased again and again. His cultivation base reached the 9th level of the Saint King realm. The holy light outside his body became more intense and dazzling. At this time, as the ancestral dragon qi continued to flow into his body, he suddenly trembled slightly. A blurry image appeared in his sea of consciousness. It was a vast area intertwined with endless fog. In the center of the area, there was a 7-colored light source flashing, a sword's soul fragment. He was shocked. He didn't know why such an image suddenly appeared in his sea of consciousness, but he was sure that the 7-colored light source in the image was a sword's soul fragment. Where is that place? Is it in the celestial void realm? He was cultivating beside the ancestral dragon vein in the celestial void realm. He suddenly saw such an image and found another sword soul fragment. This surprised and delighted him. Roar! Suddenly, an earth-shaking dragon roar sounded, shattering the image in his sea of consciousness. His body also trembled violently. His blood qi surged, and he couldn't help but open his eyes. At the same time, Ruoxian, Jiyu, Shuiyi, the Violet Fairy, and the White Tiger all stopped cultivating. They were awakened by the dragon roar. What's wrong? The White Tiger was shocked. The dragon roar just now had almost shattered its spiritual soul. At this time, its heart was beating wildly. Lin Tian didn't speak. He immediately glanced at Zhou Fatty and was shocked again. His eyes widened. Chapter 2102. As usual, Dragon would make up for the 2 chapters he owed today on Saturday and Sunday. Chapter 2103. The ancestral dragon's vein of the heaven realm actually moved, which made Lin Tian's expression change. He cultivated the dragon burial scripture and knew that the ancestral dragon's veins of some super big worlds would move on their own. However, this was the first time he had seen such a thing with his own eyes. Then, he vaguely knew why the scene containing the sword's soul fragment suddenly appeared in his mind. It was because the ancestral dragon's vein of the heaven realm had also moved and passed by the area where the sword soul fragment fell. Some of the scenes were imprinted in the ancestral dragon qi. Now that he was absorbing the ancestral dragon qi to cultivate, the divine sword was also in his sea of consciousness, so it triggered the scene in the ancestral dragon qi. Beside him, Ruoxian, Little Taichu, and the others were also shocked. It was also the first time they had seen the ancestral dragon's vein move. It has become a spirit? White Tiger's eyes widened. Roar! The ancestral dragon's vein moved, accompanied by a heaven-shaking dragon roar. The soil did not obstruct the dragon's body at all because the ancestral dragon's vein itself was condensed from spiritual energy. Its dragon body was so huge that it was a little frightening. It moved very quickly. In the process of moving, due to the fluctuation of spiritual energy, a very terrifying and destructive aura appeared around it. In the blink of an eye, It disappeared from the sight of Lin Tianyi and the others. The surroundings instantly became much darker. Lin Tian looked in the direction of the ancestral dragon's vein. He did not know why the ancestral dragon's vein suddenly moved. He thought about it and could not figure it out. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Although they had only cultivated beside the ancestral dragon's vein for a few hours, their gains were great. He had reached the 9th layer of the Saint King realm from the 5th layer of the Saint King realm. His Saint realm had an astonishing growth, and his combat strength was much stronger than before. As for the others, Little Taichu's cultivation had reached the 7th layer of the Saint King realm. White Tiger's cultivation had reached the 5th layer of the Saint King realm. Ruoxian's cultivation had reached the 3rd layer of the Saint King realm, while Violet Fairy, Jiyu, Yin and the others had all reached the Saint realm from the Quasi-Saint realm. In just a few hours, the cultivation of the group had undergone earth-shaking changes. It had to be said that the spiritual energy contained in the ancestral dragon vein of the Heaven realm was too tyrannical. With it, the speed of cultivation could be said to be tens of thousands of miles in a day. As for Sushu, her cultivation level had not changed much. In this life, she had obtained the fruit of her previous life and had truly achieved nirvana. The increase in her cultivation level was mostly due to secluded meditation. Psionic energy was not very useful to her now. "Let's go up," he said to Wu Yi. Wu Yi nodded. The divine splendor enveloped Lin Tianyi and the others. With a slight ripple, they instantly disappeared below. In the next moment, they appeared in the underground space above. There was no one in the surroundings. Only the broken layer of earth could be seen, which was caused by the previous battle. Currently, there was nothing else that needed to be done in this underground space. Lin Tian spoke and gestured for the group to leave. Soon after, they left the underground space and stepped into the Nirvana wasteland. Speaking of which, wasn't that old Taoist also looking for the ancestral dragon vein? Unfortunately, he didn't find it in the end. White Tiger clicked its tongue. Lin Tian shook his head. "That's hard to say. Maybe he found it too." "Huh?" White Tiger was puzzled. "Didn't we find the ancestral dragon vein? That old man isn't with us. How can we find it?" Lin Tian glanced at it. The ancestral dragon vein is very large. In the previous area, we only saw a small part of the ancestral dragon vein. In other areas of the underground space, there must be a part of the complete ancestral dragon vein lying horizontally. That old man may be able to find other parts of the ancestral dragon vein in other areas. White Tiger's eyes flashed when it heard this. It understood Lin Tian's meaning. "Oh, it seems to make sense. Of course." Lin Tian Dao. Then he couldn't help but think of the old Taoist's oracle bone. That thing made him feel that it was really unusual. "What exactly is that?" He muttered to himself. That oracle bone made him feel as if it contained everything. However, he didn't pay much attention to it after thinking about it. After all, there wouldn't be any results just by thinking about it. He, Wu Yi, and the others quickly left the Nirvana wasteland and went to other places. The harvest from this trip to the Nirvana wasteland could be said to be huge. The heaven of nothingness realm was very vast, and the spiritual energy was boundless. After he and Wu Yi left the Nirvana wasteland, they didn't do anything else for the time being. Instead, they strolled leisurely with Wu Yi and the others. It was as if they were playing, walking past immortal mountains and rivers. He had been separated from them for many years. Now that they were together, it could be said that he was very happy. Soon a month had passed. During this month, he and Wu Yi didn't do anything important. They had been playing leisurely. "We're going back." On this day, Wu Yi spoke. She and Lin Tiandao were going to bring Ruoxian and Sushu back to the 10-direction sky domain. This caused Lin Tianwei to be stunned and a little surprised. "Go back? Aren't we going together?" Wu Yi shook her head and said softly, "It will interfere with your cultivation." Lin Tian's expression changed slightly when he heard this. Then, a warm current flowed through his heart. At this moment, he knew what Wu Yi was thinking. With Wu Yi's strength, even the ancient ancestor of the celestial court wasn't her opponent. If Wu Yi followed by his side, It might make him naturally relax and lose his sense of danger and nervousness. In this way, it would more or less affect his normal cultivation. It would be bad for his future cultivation. At the same time, Wu Yi also thought that Ruoxian and the others would also affect him. It would make him focus most of his energy on them in the future. Therefore, she wanted to bring Ruoxian and the others with her. "Thank you." He couldn't help but step forward and pull Wu Yi into his arms. This woman was so perfect that she seemed unreal. Back when he was framed and lost his cultivation, she stood on a mountain near his village for several years and silently watched him. This woman, who was so powerful that even the ancient ancestor of the celestial court fled in fear, spent 1,000 years without cultivating herself to create the reincarnation forging spirit art and reincarnation tribulation crossing song for him. Now, she wanted to bring Ruoxian and the others back to the 10 Directions Heaven, just so that they wouldn't interfere with his normal cultivation. It was all for his sake. He was so touched that he didn't know what to say. He could only think of 2 words: thank you. With such a wife, what more could a husband ask for? "We're family. No need to thank me," Wu Yi said softly. "They'll go back with me. Don't worry." Lin Tian nodded vigorously. Ruoxian and Su Shu followed Wu Yi. In this world, how many people could threaten them? He was very relieved. Now, it was far better for them to follow Wu Yi than follow him. "Father, do your best. But remember, safety first." That you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.